You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history.
We're trotting out and peddling people's racist, sexist, bigoted stereotypes.
And their colleagues have distorted the facts.
Take the worst thoughts saying, turn them to a game. Take the best thoughts saying, put them on display.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, Hunter. Apparently you're afraid of my words.
Hunter Biden is not above the law. We want to send him to the DOJ, and we want to trust the DOJ to do their job.
I want my Republican colleagues to give me one thing, that I can go campaign on and say we did.
The bill, as I say, codifies one definition of anti-Semitism, a definition that the author says shouldn't be codified.
RICO is not a crime. They want to act like they blind. They don't know what this is. These are our national secrets. Looks like in the shitter to me.
Leadership of the plans to get them back into chambers. That would have been call number 3 with Speaker Pelosi.
So you didn't have one call, you didn't have 2 calls, you had 3 calls. So Speaker Pelosi's comments that she didn't speak to were inaccurate.
That is correct, sir.
Welcome to the Off-Label Podcast, your daily dose of sanity in an insane world. Ladies and gentlemen, well, we got another one for you. Here's the visa process one. This one's going to get a little bit rough for us, guys. I've heard a fair amount of this one already, and I know I have to bring it to you because of the, well, there are some cheap shots in this one, but there is some real information that does come out in this. Ladies and gentlemen, the visa process. How are we taking care of it? Well, if it's anything to do with this, we're already screwed. But hey, a familiar face is coming back. Check it out.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you can get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless.
Donald, as someone who's 1/1000th Iranian, I can tell you bombing Iran just because they were making nuclear weapons to use on the United States was completely Islamophobic. Elizabeth, all I did was mostly peacefully bomb Iran. They tried to attack us in return, but it was like a child with severe muscular dystrophy trying to fight Mike Tyson. I made them look like a bunch of sandy baloney ponies, and it led to a very successful ceasefire deal.
Donald, Israel just broke the ceasefire.
Oh, goddammit, what the hell happened?
Well, the ceasefire was going great for a couple hours. Then Benjamin Netanyahu told the Grand Ayatollah he's so dumb he's the turban tard. So the Grand Ayatollah said, "Is that smell gefilte fish, or did you forget to shower?" That's when Netanyahu complained to the IDF and ordered the strikes on Iran.
Oh, goddammit. All right, I'll call Netanyahu. Benjamin, you have no idea what you're doing. I demand you stop the fighting immediately. I'm coming to the Middle East right now, and we're gonna settle this.
Donald, he started it. He told me that the title of Grand Ayatollah sounds like the name of a crappy motel chain in Las Vegas.
Only after you said, "How does a Jewish man change a light bulb?" He hires his nephew to do it.
Kind of a little bit rough, isn't it? But it's great.
Sounds like a chain of hotels.
I mean, it kind of does. The gefilte fish comment was fucking gold, though. I ain't heard nobody use that in forever.
What up, Jennifer? What up, Muffin? What up, Carolyn? What up, Ken? What up, Luis? And on the Rumble side, what up, babe? What up, Be the One?
Yeah, we'll have some people pulling in here, but
shortly.
Davey.
Yo!
I got a question. I think you were actually here with me when we did this one. Do you remember this dude, though? Oh,
I wasn't here. I wasn't with you when you did it because you were doing these during the day while
oh yeah, well, I had a job. Yeah.
Yeah. You were doing all these either when you were off or you weren't working. So yeah. No, I wasn't here. You showed him to me. This little fucking nerd. This little fucking I got bullied when I was in school, so now I'm gonna make everybody pay for it.
What up, Jeno? But yeah, this dude right here. Listen to this shit. This was during one of those border hearings.
The chance of dying from a foreign-born terrorist attack since 1975 is one in
Mr.
4.4 million per
Mr.
year.
Narasta, I'm sure that is great comfort to the families of the people from 9/11. Because when you sit here and testify that 0 people have committed a terrorist attack from crossing our border, I'm sure that is comfort to the people who had terrorist attacks committed by people who came here and overstayed their visas.
It is
the
no
fact of the matter is, the fact of the matter is, when you talk about having an open border, I'm sure that your position is great comfort to the man in Baltimore who was being held up for.
Now notice there was a jump cut in there that led up to this moment.
Ransom for $23,000 so that his little girl wouldn't get raped in a stash house in Fort Worth. Have you talked to that little girl or to that father?
Was he a terrorism suspect?
Have you talked to that father, Mr. Narasta?
No, I'm not aware of that terrorism case. What was his name?
Have you talked to that father whose little girl was being raped in a stash house?
No, I haven't. Is this a terrorism-related issue?
I'm answering the questions, and this is the subject matter I want to talk about in this hearing, Mr. Narasta.
I'm answering the questions.
Yeah.
Chip got a little flustered, though.
Because you're the one sitting here trying to tell the American people that our border is perfectly fine, that it is perfectly okay, that it is, not open because people are paying $5,000 or $10,000 to get here. So it is very much relevant that a little girl's getting raped in a stash house because of the policies of you and radical leftists who don't give a damn.
Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? He's back. Let's get this rolling.
Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare a recess at any time.
It is at 1.25 speed right now.
The visa process. We'll begin with opening statements, and we'll begin with mine. In many ways, the 2024 election was a referendum on the Democrats' open border policies. For 4 years, they opened America's borders and deliberately trafficked at least 6 million illegal aliens directly into our communities, while the Border Patrol was overwhelmed arranging lodging, transportation, food, healthcare, and legal services for this massive population. Another 2 million gotaways entered our country as well. The result was devastating to our nation, and it produced one of the greatest political realignments in our nation's history. Americans suffered as their classrooms filled with non-English speaking students, their hospitals were overwhelmed by illegals demanding care, their food pantries stripped bare, and homeless shelters filled to capacity. The cost of these services is estimated at $160 billion a year, or about $1,250 from the taxes of an average American household annually. More ominously, among this population were the most violent criminals, criminal gangs, and cartels on the planet, often shielded by Democrat sanctuary laws and leftist DAs and judges. The sad, senseless, and entirely preventable tragedies produced by these policies continue to unfold before us on a daily basis. For 4 years, the Democrats in this Congress and this committee told us this was for our own good, and besides, there wasn't anything we could do about it anyway, short of their demand for widespread amnesty. But the American people knew better. They knew, as President Trump put it, that we didn't need new laws, we needed a new president. And we got one. And within 30 days, illegal border crossings were cut 96%, and traffic across the deadly Darien Gap dropped 99%, saving thousands of lives.
Louis.
Since taking office, roughly 150,000 illegal migrants, many with criminal convictions or charges, have been detained by the Trump administration as required by law, and the largest illegal mass migration in history is now being redressed by the largest repatriation. Reportedly, roughly 1 million illegal migrants have already decided to voluntarily return to their own countries as a result.
Yeah.
We have a long way to go to restore the integrity of our immigration laws. Violent mobs in our cities have repeatedly attacked law enforcement officers carrying out these laws, and Democratic officials have said that the violence will stop once enforcement stops. In other words, if we enforce the law as the American people demanded, Democrats will burn our cities to the ground. Well, we're not going to allow such intimidation to prevail. In the coming months, we will report out of the Judiciary Committee a new version of H.R. 2, which will assure that this deliberate and rampant illegality can never again threaten our nation, our communities, or our people. The purpose of today's hearing is to determine to what extent our legal immigration system has been exploited, abused, and defrauded, and to recommend measures to assure that legal immigration to the United States is legitimate, honest, fully vetted, and above board, serving the interests of both the United States and those honest and law-abiding immigrants who seek to come here legally.
Okay.
America has the most generous legal immigration system in the world. During fiscal year 2023, the U.S. government issued more than 10.4 million non-immigrant visas, while nearly 1.2 million aliens became lawful permanent residents through the immigrant visa system. We will devote a future hearing to the deliberate subversion of the visa process by the Biden administration when the Inspector General publishes one of his forthcoming reports. Suffice it to say for now that during those 4 years, the administration sacrificed integrity and security in the screening process in issuing visas, exploiting the discretion in the legal requirement for in-person interviews with a consular officer. Integrity in the visa process is a matter of national security for our country. Take, for instance, the case of Mohammed Suleiman, who perpetrated a depraved anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado earlier this month. Suleiman had previously been denied a visa on at least one occasion, but was issued a visitor visa in 2022. 1 month after his arrival in the United States, Suleiman filed an asylum application. Such action clearly showed that he never intended to leave the U.S. once here, as required by his tourist visa. Subsequent statements by his family members have validated that assertion. Cases like this demonstrate why...
Jennifer, thank you for the 10. Gentlemen, do you know Fish Tank? Y'all must discuss this internet show on Saturday. Please, it is insane. I don't know. I'll take a look at it. I don't know if I want to go down that rabbit hole, though.
It's crazy. I've seen some of it. It's with a comedian named Sam something. I forget his name. But totally on PC. Totally on PC. They made a gay guy think that he won the game. And then they told him that they kept telling him he had to do extra, like, it's kind of like Big Brother-ish. And you're watching these weird, just wild ass people. They're just,
oh god,
they look like they're all from the backwoods of Alabama. And
right, you got to put it like that.
They told us, I think, if I remember correctly, they told this gay black dude that he won, but then he kept on having to do more competitions to keep his championship status. And then he just before he was about to win, Sam Hyde, that's the guy's name, Sam Hyde. Sam Hyde just stopped the whole competition and said, everybody go home. And then like a couple weeks later, he picked everybody up in an RV van and like, we're going to continue going on. He just fucks with these people so fucking badly. It is like a redneck fucking Big Brother. It is insane.
That might actually be fun to watch, and though. But we'll check it out.
It is imperative that State Department and Department of Homeland Security employees who adjudicate visas have as much information as possible about the applicants. Some of that information is supplied by the alien during the application process, while other information is available through the U.S. government interagency screening and vetting process. But as we have heard in previous testimony about illegal alien border crossers, if an alien has no criminal or other security-related record, it's like they're, quote, being vetted against a blank sheet of paper, as one witness told this subcommittee last year. The same is true of aliens seeking visas. And there can be no substitute for looking virtually every applicant in the eye and questioning their motives, intent, and plans. Once again, President Trump has taken decisive action to improve screening and vetting of visa applicants. On Inauguration Day, he directed relevant agencies to identify deficiencies in the visa process and the resources available to allow for maximum vetting of visa applicants. Pursuant to that executive order, the administration has identified 19 countries that were uncooperative or deficient in providing background information on applicants, and the president accordingly restricted issuance of visas to their nationals. Non-immigrant visa categories that are rife with fraud and abuse include the student visa program, where fake schools are set up for the sole purpose of facilitating fraudulent claims of student status. The U visa is offered to those who are victims or witnesses to crimes and offer a path to U.S. citizenship. It should be no surprise that criminal rings have been uncovered that stage phony crimes and take advantage of this process. Fraud and lax vetting in the visa process do not exist solely in the non-immigrant visa context. The immigrant visa process is also routinely abused and exploited. Take, for example, the diversity visa program known as the visa lottery. Not only do bad actors impersonate U.S. government officials to try to get diversity applicants to pay them money, but fake documents and sham marriages have become commonplace. The special immigrant juvenile program is also susceptible to fraud and misuse, allowing 20-year-old foreign nationals to falsely claim abuse by a parent and be allowed to remain in the U.S. nearly indefinitely. And the VAWA self-petition process, conducted in secret without the knowledge of the U.S. citizen spouse, has also been subject to fraud as well. As this administration closes this dangerous chapter of outright illegal immigration under Biden, we must also protect our legal channels from fraud and abuse. That's the purpose of today's hearing, and we look to our witnesses for their guidance and suggestions on doing so. And with that, I now yield to the ranking member for her opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Really quickly, hold on.
In my 2.5 years as ranking...
Oh, my God. Shovel face, what's up?
Just an update. U.S. House passes a bill to ensure illegal aliens who drive drunk get deported 246 to 160.
Good.
So it goes to the Senate.
They had some of the dumbest fucking arguments for that, dude.
I bet.
Dumbest fucking arguments. They had one where it was just some dude came home and he just sat in his vehicle with the key on and the engine running and he got drunk in his car. Is he a threat? Yeah. Yeah, because I'd go to jail for the same goddamn thing.
Yeah. You could be, if you're drunk and you're home and you're literally in your car and your keys are in the ignition, not even on, drunk driving.
Dude, in our state, you can be in the driver's seat, but your keys cannot be within reach. The engines, of course, got to be cold, so they know you haven't driven for a while, but your keys cannot be within reach.
In Jersey, if you go out and you get drunk and the person who's driving is technically drunk, you get the DUI also.
Right. Kind of fucked, but yeah.
Member of the Immigration Subcommittee, I believe that this is the first hearing that the majority has held that is not focused on undocumented immigrants. I'm glad the majority realizes that there is an entire legal immigration system to discuss, a system that has not been updated in 35 years. We need a modernized system that meets our 21st century needs while also protecting American workers. Many of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle love to say that they support legal immigration and people coming in, quote, the right way. Well, this is their chance. Unfortunately, just over 150 days into the second Trump administration, the Trump administration has been making it exceedingly clear that it opposes all immigration, including legal immigration. Across the country, we have seen students picked up by masked immigration agents in unmarked cars.
We've already talked about all that shit, including how the school fucked up that one dude in Miami.
Taken to detention facilities with no warning and given limited information as to why they are being deported. The administration has revoked thousands of student visas as a weapon to stifle political dissent, restrict due process, and
why does she look like Quagmire?
Giggity giggity.
Look at her.
She got a big ass chin.
Look at her.
She got a big ass chin. I see her.
The fuck?
Enforce an exclusionary and nativist vision of America that runs counter to everything our institutions of higher learning stand for. And just last week, video of masked ICE agents violently beating the father of 3 U.S. Marines has absolutely shocked the conscience of Americans across the political spectrum. The administration's actions to close off legal pathways will actually hurt America's ability to innovate and attract the talent we need. And make no mistake, they are not about national security, and we know this because just last month, Secretary of State Rubio announced plans to, quote, aggressively revoke student visas of Chinese students, all in the name of national security. And yet just 2 weeks later, President Trump, in announcing a so-called trade deal with China, said Chinese students would still be able to attend universities in the United States, even noting, quote, it has always been good with me. After a pause, the United States has resumed interviews for F, J, and M visas, but added new screening of the applicants' social media. These visas cover more than just students. They apply to physicians, university researchers, and au pairs, many of whom come to work for military families and others. And then earlier this month, President Trump issued a proclamation restricting or limiting the entry of nationals from 19 countries. In total, the 19 countries subject to these discriminatory bans have a combined population of over 475 million people. According to State Department data, the proclamation has the potential to block at least 34,000 green cards from being issued and over 125,000 non-immigrant visas from being issued every single year.
Okay.
Recent reporting also tells us that the Trump administration is considering
Relax with the 5. What's happening, my friends? Davey, hope you are doing well. I have to share my concern with you. Concern for you with Rob and your promotional idea. I use Carolina Reaper in my sauces. I don't want to watch you die.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Ah, fuck that. I'm not gonna die.
My light went off.
Good job.
Oh, he's
I'm doing
gonna
it.
die. He's
I'm
gonna
not
die.
gonna die. Dude, I chugged on my I forget what it was. It was an anniversary or something. And I chugged a half a bottle of super hot sauce.
Yeah, well, this is
We'll
gonna
try
be
it.
fun to watch.
Yeah, listen.
What's it
We hit,
for?
we hit 1K on Rumble or 2K on YouTube.
This is gonna be fun.
adding an
It's like-
additional 36
it's like the one chip
countries to that
challenge.
list, 25 of which are from Africa. These countries may be subjected to partial or even full travel bans if they do not meet certain benchmarks over the next 2 months. And alarmingly, it appears that the Trump administration is attempting to coerce
What up,
some
hon?
of these countries into signing third country removal agreements
What
to
up,
keep
Richard?
themselves
Mike?
off the ban list. The Trump administration has also stripped hundreds of thousands of individuals of their lawful parole or temporary protected status. Many of these people came lawfully from Nicaragua, Haiti, Cuba, and Venezuela, or fled these cruel regimes. Now, the Trump administration is actually making them undocumented and trying to send them back to their home countries where they may be abused or tortured. Now, it's not just African, Asian, or Latin American countries. Every day,
So we can't send them back to their country because they may be abused or tortured. So they have to stay here where they abuse and torture.
My screen.
Go ahead.
This is your new Democratic nominee. You want to talk about, death and torture. This says, Zohan Mandani and why he wants to empty jails. Violence is an artificial construct.
Oftentimes, we've even found as legislators, when we go into these courts, the term violent crime is even used when people are stealing packages. Violent crime is even used when people are accused of burglary and there happens to be a housing unit in that same dwelling. So violence is an artificial construct.
You mean like school shootings have, if there's a gang who's fighting and they're within a school zone, they consider that a school shooting? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
And we have to be very clear that what is happening here with these district attorneys, that is violence. That is violence of the highest degree. We have oftentimes...
That is violence.
Good luck,
people,
New York.
The people putting away the other people. Hold on, there was another one.
When we go into these courts, the term violent crime...
Okay, that was the same one. But here's another one.
I tell you, brother, the pressure, no matter the attacks, I will not move on those principles. And I tell you, brothers and sisters of this masjid, that we have an opportunity, starting tomorrow for early voting until Election Day on June 24th, an opportunity to show that New Yorkers want that consistency. They want those principles. They want a belief in humanity. And alhamdulillah, in this city we have 1 million Muslims. 200,000 of us are registered as Democrats. But in the last election, only 7% of us voted. Now, I will not judge anyone in our community because often it feels like there's not much to vote for. But this year we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity.
Oh.
And I can tell you, I began this race at 1%, and today I am just 2% away from Andrew Cuomo. 2% away from City Hall. 2% away from making history. And that is why every day a new Republican billionaire puts $1 million into this race to attack me. But I know that I have something they do not have, which is the support of people across this city. So I ask you to tell everyone in your life that this election is here, to tell them what's on the ballot, and to tell them that we as Muslims deserve what every other community deserves.
Notice anything missing there?
White people.
Nope.
What?
Vaginas. It's all men.
Oh, God damn, you're right.
It's all men. Every mosque, I believe, is separated between men and women. But yeah,
told you.
Equality, right? Equality.
Why would I send one bullet to cast a war against you if you're going to let people come in here and just ruin yourself from the inside?
Yep.
Why would I do it?
No need.
Equality and respect. But we know that in this city and in this country, we are not going to be given those things. We have to win those things. And one way we win them is at the ballot box. So I ask you, when you go and vote, remember, it is our opportunity to show that Muslims don't just belong in New York City. We belong in City Hall too. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Come on, you forgot you're in the mosque? You forgot you're in the masjid? What's going on here?
They weren't allowed to clap. Tell me whatever you want, but this man has no right to serve in public office. He's an admitted communist supporter, and that alone is grounds for deportation.
Yes. Let's
go back to yours.
Yeah, let's go back here.
Today, it seems we hear a new horror story of Customs and Border Protection stopping and detaining someone at an air or land port who is from Canada or Europe. And often, they then wrongly send those people to ICE detention for weeks. This includes a German national on a fiancé visa who spent over 2 weeks in an ICE detention center because he and his U.S. citizen spouse simply took a day trip to Mexico. Or at the Canadian border, a backpacker from Wales spent nearly 3 weeks at a detention center over confusion related to her visa before being allowed to fly home at her own expense. A Canadian woman on a work visa detained at the Tijuana border who spent 12 days in detention before finally being able to return home. And here's the kicker. A prime motivation of these detentions appears to be to overfill detention beds at private detention facilities that are run by for-profit corporations that bankroll Republican campaigns. These for-profit facilities are rife with abuse because they're actually incentivized to cut corners so that they can reap enormous profits, all paid for by the American taxpayer. The path forward for America is a legal immigration system that is modernized, fair, and adequate to meet the needs of our families and our economy. Attacking legal immigration, student visas, workers with valid visas, even sweeping up U.S. citizens, that's not just morally wrong. It makes absolutely no sense. Making America less welcoming as a nation is already having a real impact. The United States will lose out $12.5 billion in tourism alone this year. Students and top scientists and researchers don't want to come to a country that suppresses their free speech rights or discriminates against them for what their home.
Davey, if you can handle the one chip challenge, look up Mad Dog 357 Gold Edition hot sauce. 1 drip, 4 to 6 drops. I drip 4 to
6 drops. Street tacos. Comes with the 257 Magnum Bullet keychain, which is for the hot sauce to go. That's actually pretty cool. I gotta check it out.
Repressive governments do. That should not be what America is. I look forward to hearing from all our witnesses today, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. I now recognize the ranking member of the full committee, Mr. Raskin, for an opening statement.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very kindly, and thank you to all the witnesses for being with us today. There is more to immigration than border enforcement, as the ranking member of the subcommittee just said, and it's a good thing that our friends are waking up to that. President Trump and Stephen Miller's ambition to deport 12 million people from the country has been a terrible failure on its own terms, but even in its failure, it has turned our society upside down. It has terrorized both citizens and non-citizens, destabilized and divided our communities, wrecked small businesses who've lost their workers, and trashed our Constitution for everybody. It's gotten so bad that Donald Trump even seems to have recognized that his policies don't fit reality. 2 weeks ago, he gave the game away by acknowledging that hundreds of thousands of undocumented aliens working on the farms and in the fields are, quote, good longtime workers, and that he'd been lobbied both by his agriculture secretary and by large agricultural interests to stop the ICE raids on farms as they are spreading panic and keeping a majority of the workforce from showing up at work. So he decided he would stop enforcing the mass dragnet ICE raids there and invoke the same logic for the restaurant sector, also heavily dependent on undocumented people. Of course, it would apply equally then to the construction sector, landscaping and gardening, nursing, you name it. The vast majority of immigrants, even those here illegally, are not rapists and criminals, but hardworking people, essential to our economy, just looking to make a better life for themselves. Think of the dreamers. So it's good for us to be having the first immigration hearing in memory, not on enforcement tactics at the border or in our communities, but instead about visas. Alas, the president's record on visas is riddled with the same bursts of extremism and dogmatism and fanaticism that have made his enforcement measures so unpopular. He and his administration have tortured our laws and trampled our Constitution to kick out permanent resident green card holders and students and target universities who voice opinions that he disapproves of. As part of its effort to undertake a hostile takeover of America's colleges and universities, the administration interrupted interviews for student and exchange visitor visas. The result, about 15% of foreign doctors slated to begin their work at American teaching hospitals around the country were unable to get their visas in time to start the medical year next month, all at a time when we have a serious doctor shortage in the country that threatens access to care. And the monstrous reconciliation bill threatens to slash Medicaid funding on which rural hospitals rely. The administration has also recently implemented its xenophobic travel ban to unilaterally ban entrance to the country for all nationals of 19 different countries, with minor exceptions. Categorically denying visas to nationals of these countries does not make us safer or freer or more prosperous. It cements us in the eyes of the world as a vindictive, isolationist, and increasingly undependable and authoritarian country. The travel ban will likely have significant economic consequences by restricting travel and migration from the targeted nations. In 2022, at least 298,000 non-citizens from countries affected by the new travel ban arrived in the U.S. Most of them came to the U.S. temporarily, spending money as tourists or as students, fueling our economy. The following year, households with nationals from the targeted countries collectively earned $3.2 billion in income, paid $715 million in federal, state, and local taxes, and held $2.5 billion in spending power. Donald Trump also paused the refugee program, claiming the entry of these thoroughly vetted and re-vetted individuals would be detrimental to the United States. But then he allowed white Afrikaners to apply via a Google form and to undergo an expedited process to come to the U.S. as refugees. And it should shock no one to learn that after they arrived, reporters were able to dig up numerous anti-Semitic posts from the refugees. One of them had never been subjected, apparently, to the new anti-Semitism screen.
The white South African farmers are anti-Semitic. All 59 of them.
Really quickly, headline. I'll just read the headline. Rapper 50 Cent offers to pay socialist Zohan Mandani over $250,000 to leave New York City after Mandani called him out during a recent podcast. Mandani, a former rapper himself, wants to increase taxes on New Yorkers, which 50 Cent says he's not a fan of. Where did you come from? Whose friend is this? I'm not feeling this plan. No, I'll give you $258,750 and a first-class one-way ticket away from New York. I'm telling Trump, who said this too. 50 Cent said on Instagram.
That's cool.
50 Cent for mayor. 50 Cent for mayor.
But hey, that motherfucker's had a lot of money problems, so that's probably all he's got left.
Man.
Being used for other visa candidates. The title of this hearing is Restoring Integrity and Security to the Visa Process. How does any of this restore integrity or security? These random pauses, arbitrary bans, ad hoc detentions do nothing to improve security or integrity in our process. President Trump has turned our visa system into a terrain of caprice and selective punishment he can wield against his chosen political enemies and use to demonize and scapegoat immigrants, including visa recipients. This war on immigrants is designed to distract us from the fact that they're trying to cut 14 million Americans off of Medicaid, destroying small businesses with chaotic and unlawful tariff policies, gutting federal agencies and programs charged with protecting Americans against scams and frauds, and using the pardon power to transfer more than $1 billion from the victims of crime to the perpetrators of crime. Sometimes the president's had his lucid moments on immigration. During his first term, while saying he wanted to build a big, beautiful wall, he said the wall would have a big, very beautiful door, signifying his support for legal immigration. In brief, lucid moments like these, I try to find hope that we can work together across the aisle to focus on a secure border.
Anus.
It'll have a big, it'll have a big, beautiful door.
big, beautiful back door.
That's just no, but you're gonna sit there and tell me that, hey, I got this wall, I'm just gonna build this door. You know, this is gonna signify me liking legal immigration. We let you in from the back door, apparently, because it is the southern border. You know, it'd be the southern door, the back door. Dude, this is ridiculously retarded for you to sit here and be like, oh my God, he's crazy for making a joke.
Deluxe night with the dono, bruh. As a hot sauce addict, that keychain makes me imagine that cocaine necklace Sarah Michelle Gellar wore in the movie Cruel Intentions for the fuck me bump. Then I go, what the fuck am I doing with this thing? I wanna. As soon as we get into the red, as soon as we get into the black, I'm ordering it.
That's harsh.
Order, the removal of immigrants convicted of serious crimes
That's like
and public
addict
safety
shit.
threats, a pathway to citizenship for the law-abiding taxpaying.
Dude, you never know. Some places don't have fucking hot sauce. It's just,
very
you
good
just want some hot sauce.
workers, and a modernized immigration system that will make it easier to come here lawfully while protecting American workers. We've come very close to doing this in the past. We can do it again. Tom Paine, who arrived in the country in 1774, fell in love with America when he got here. He said, this land will become an asylum to humanity. Not an insane asylum, mind you, but a place of refuge for people seeking freedom from religious and political and economic persecution and discrimination from all over the world. So let's live up to the original vision of the founders. This is a nation made up of immigrants and the descendants of people who were enslaved and of the original Native Americans. But this is a land of immigration, a land of immigrants, and a land of laws. We can make it all fit together, and I hope we can work together on a bipartisan basis to make that happen. Yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back. Without objection, all other opening statements will be included in the record. I will now introduce today's witnesses. We have with us today Mrs. Jessica Vaughn, who is the Director of Policy Studies for the Center for Immigration Studies.
Guys, we can't play Who's the Witness Shill tonight because we already pointed them out.
Prior to that, Mrs. Vaughn was a State Department Foreign Service officer serving in Belgium, Trinidad
What
and
up,
Tobago.
Lenny?
Mrs. Vaughn has a master's degree from
Yeah,
Georgetown
redneck.
University
It was
and
church
a bachelor's
ball.
degree from Washington College in Maryland. Simon Hankinson is a senior research
But we're-
fellow at the
we're
Heritage
spons-
Foundation's
but
Border
we're sponsored by
Security
Twin
Immigration
Peaks.
Center. From 1999 to 2022, he was a State Department Foreign Service officer serving in several capacities in countries that included Kenya, France, Fiji, and Ghana. Prior to entering the State Department, Mr. Hankinson worked as a lawyer in London and a teacher in Miami. He holds a master's degree in modern history from St. Andrews, Scotland, a degree from the College of Law in London, and a master's degree in international security affairs from the National Defense University in Washington, D.C. Mr. Alex Norristaw is the Vice President for Economic and Social Policy Studies at the Cato Institute. He's written on the economic impacts of immigration and the economy. Mr. Noresta received a BA in economics from George Mason University and an MS in economic history from the London School of Economics. And finally, Mr. Cody Brown is the managing attorney of
I bet you it gets in his ass when somebody doesn't say his name right.
Who are victims of immigration fraud. He's worked on the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee and is legislative counsel to a member of the House Homeland Security Committee, among other jobs. Mr. Brown earned an LLM from Georgetown University Law Center, a JD from Hamlin University School of Law, and a BS from Northwestern College. I want to welcome all of our witnesses, to thank them for appearing today, and we'll begin by swearing you in. Would you please rise and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, so help you God? Let the record reflect that witnesses have answered in the affirmative. Thank you. Please be seated. Please know that your written testimony will be entered in the record in its entirety. Accordingly, we'd ask that you summarize your testimony in 5 minutes, and we'll begin with Mrs. Vaughn.
Thank you.
Americans are all too familiar with the details of the mass migration disaster we experienced during the 4 years of the Biden administration, when about 9 million illegal border crossers and parolees were allowed to enter the country. Our foreign-born population has spiked to the highest point in history at just over 53 million people, and the highest percentage of our population ever, almost 16%. But not all of the newly arrived illegal aliens were caught and released at the border. Many arrived on visas obtained under more lenient rules put in place by the Biden administration. Under these policies, new temporary visa issuances went up by 25% to 11 million in 2024. New issuances of short-term B1
That kid in the back looks like he's afraid. Like he's scared to death right now.
and B2
Big balls.
visitors visas, which is the largest and most overstay-prone category, went up 40% to 9 million in 2024 alone. Our visa process is improved, but still far from secure. Thanks to the more lenient policies, which include interview waivers, stretching eligibility criteria, and generally prioritizing swift approval over diligence in vetting, the visa programs have become much more vulnerable to frivolous and outright fraudulent applications. Not only does this often disadvantage qualified applicants who have to wait longer to receive visas, the fraud and abuse undermine public support and, worst of all, allow bad actors who are public safety or national security threats to gain access to our country. These risks are not minor or unreliable, and frankly, I think it's insensitive and irresponsible to trivialize these incidents that have occurred as a result of visa vetting failures. It's insensitive to the victims and irresponsible for policymakers to do so. One new example of a visa vetting mistake is Behzad Nejad, an Iranian man who was given a student visa in 2016 to attend the University of Texas. His status was terminated soon after he was arrested for domestic violence, but it took another year for him to be ordered removed, and ICE finally picked him up just this week in possession of a firearm on top of it. Then there's Abdullah Hassan, who came on a visa in 2022, and settled in Falls Church, attended George Mason, and was arrested last December for promoting violence against Jews online and planning a mass casualty attack on Jews in New York. Yes, it helps to have more interior enforcement, but the visa issuance process and the programs themselves need to be reformed to sift out more unqualified applicants before they get here. In 2023 alone, there were more than 18,000 entries of Iranian citizens on NIVs, including more than 10,000 on B1, B2 visas, more than 5,000 entries on student visas, and more than 1,000 on exchange visas. This is just way too big a haystack for ICE to have to sift through when there is a potential threat, as we have now. The problem is partly one of leadership to change the culture of travel facilitation at the State Department, but Congress needs to step in too by enacting statutory requirements for visa interviews, which are critical to evaluating applicants, and establishing consequences for overstaying, both for the person and the sponsor, and by providing resources for fraud protection. But it's not just a processing problem. We have to make sure that applicants are actually eligible for the visas they seek, and some of the visa categories, especially on the permanent visa side, are so conceptually flawed and have such inadequate statutory criteria that even when adjudicators are empowered to try to prevent fraud, they are almost powerless to do so. And among the most problematic and ripe for congressional action are two categories where state and local government entities are the gatekeepers to establishing eligibility: the U visa and the special immigrant juvenile category. The latter in particular needs urgent attention from Congress, especially in light of the hundreds of thousands of minors who've come in the last 4 years.
The ones that have gone
we
missing.
have a problem when applications spike as they have in the SIJ category, with more than 50,000 a year now. And when the specialty law firms are advertising all over social media, offering young illegal aliens who have no other path to stay here the option to claim that they were abused, neglected, or abandoned by one parent, even long ago, claims that are nearly impossible to verify, even if anyone tried. Criminal histories can be excused or may be unavailable to adjudicators if they were committed as a juvenile, making this the amnesty program of choice for MS-13 gang members, among others. And as with the U visa or some other programs, under Biden rules, the applicants get the work permit and protection from deportation long before the file is ever reviewed. Thanks again for the opportunity to discuss these issues.
Kevin?
Thank you, Mrs. Vaughn. Mr. Hankinson, you may begin.
Deluxe with the don't know. Truly, the fucked up thing is I don't even know it was a thing until 8 months later when it hit the floor out of my pocket and kicked it walking to my truck. The dipstick was hanging from my pocket. What the fuck? Oopsie.
Chairman Gill, Ranking Member Jayapal, and members of the subcommittee, thank you for inviting me to testify today. Well, first, what is a visa? Let's imagine America is a castle surrounded by a wall. Anyone wanting to visit the castle first has to go to the main gate in the wall. That's the U.S. Embassy. The guards will want to know who the visitor is, where he's from, what he does, and why he wants to enter the castle. They ask a lot of questions and do their best to verify the visitor's claims, but they're limited in what they can find out. If they're satisfied as to his identity and truthfulness, they give the visitor permission to go inside and knock on the castle door. And that permission is the visa. It gives the holder the likelihood, but not the right, of being let into the castle. When the visitor knocks on the castle door, the person at the door is a Customs and Border Protection inspector. He sees that the visitor's gotten past the guards, but he'll still ask questions to make sure he's satisfied before letting the visitor inside. Visas have three main vulnerabilities: fraud, vetting, and overstays. Fraud is a fact of life in visa work. It varies by place and person, but applicants, particularly in poor and corrupt countries, lie to get visas. I've been lied to thousands of times. Consular officers are unable to see or to verify accurate records for most applicants, so they have to use their professional judgment. Vetting means checking for criminal records or other ineligibilities. Consular officers, again, are limited to what the applicant presents and whatever exists in U.S. government databases, which don't include criminal records for most countries. Some visa applicants lie about their intent in traveling to the U.S., and they overstay. And overstay rates by category of person and country of origin should be tied to refusal rates. For example, recent reports from consular posts have shown high overstay rates from students of English as a second language. So in response, USCIS should strip schools whose students overstay at high rates of the right to admit foreign students, and the State Department should limit issuing student visas in those countries of origin. A visa is a privilege and not a right. Just as the passing stranger has no right to get into the castle, no one has a right to enter any other country but his own. We are under no obligation to admit foreigners who come to the United States to incite anti-Semitism or terrorism or to attack U.S. foreign policy. And the law gives the President and the Secretary of State wide discretion to keep undesirable foreigners out, and their use of this constitutional prerogative must not be obviated by judicial overreach. At the same time, the original scope of some visa categories is warped into something unintended by Congress. I'll give just a few examples. The purpose of student visas are for foreign nationals to study in the United States and then return home to build their own countries. Now, we can retain the very best, but it was never intended that every student visa automatically led to permanent residency. The optional practical training program, which facilitates this, is not statutory and should be terminated. The H-1B visa was created 30 years ago to fill a short-term need for skilled labor.
You're not lying, Tony Hay. You ain't lying, brother.
With a limit of $65,000 a year. Today, many H-1B workers are paid below the median wage for their occupations. H-1Bs disproportionately benefit large tech firms and foreign outsourcing companies at the expense of smaller employers and American workers. The H-1B has thus evolved from a temporary work visa into a de facto immigrant visa that disproportionately benefits one country, India. Today, the unemployment rate for recent college graduates is nearly 6%, which is twice the rate for all graduates. Up to 70% of science, technology, engineering, and math graduates don't even work in STEM fields. Yet, even as they lay off thousands of workers, major U.S. companies continue to petition for thousands of H-1B workers, claiming they can't find qualified Americans. We need to return the H-1B program to its original scope and put our own children and workers first. There are almost 300,000 Chinese students in this country. Some of them spy against the U.S. government, companies, and university research programs. And we do have visa screening to prevent this, but Chinese applicants can come on a tourist or other visa and then change status to student without triggering that vetting. We should not allow this. Visa holders seeking to change their status
You mean like Lindy Lee?
to student, researcher, or worker should go home first and apply to U.S. embassies so they're properly scrutinized. The biggest vulnerability of temporary visas is that holders can claim asylum once in the U.S. And with lengthy process, appeals, and a massive backlog, it's too easy to use a fraudulent claim to remain indefinitely. Congress should restore integrity to our asylum laws and make it harder to claim on frivolous grounds. They should speed up the process, and we should all make sure that decisions are carried out. There are many other possible ways to increase efficiency and integrity of visas. For example, we could prioritize education and skills over family reunification. We could reduce the standard authorized stay to 90 days instead of 180. We could end the vague duration of status for foreign students and journalists. Consular officers could be encouraged to apply the public charge rule to prevent migration of probable indigents. Or we could let only accredited institutions with a good compliance record admit foreign students and cap the percentage of those students. Now, with our southern border no longer wide open and interior enforcement once again underway, we have the time to consider all of these ideas and more. Thank you, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hankinson. Mr.
I mean, it was. He laid out everything good and bad about it all and just said, here you go.
This is what we should do. I like it.
No rascal.
Oh, God damn it.
Mr. Gill is becoming a force to be reckoned with, by the way.
He's good for making little points, but they're all gotcha points, though. But Narasta, this dick face. Oh, this is going to be horrible.
You may begin.
Chairman McClintock, Ranking Member Jayapal, and distinguished members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to testify. Over the decades, the Cato Institute has produced original research on immigration, including the threat of foreign-born terrorism, immigrant criminality, and the vast economic contributions of immigrants and their descendants. Thus, it is a pleasure to be invited to speak on the topic of today's hearing, restoring integrity and security to the visa process. However, I must start with a criticism of the title of the hearing. The title, quote, restoring integrity and security to the visa process, implies that integrity and security were somehow lost or missing from the visa process. nothing could be further from the truth. The visa security system was rightly overhauled after the 9/11 attacks and has only gotten more thorough, more complex, and expanded to cover more categories of immigrants and non-immigrants since then. But the ultimate proof is not in the legal procedures or the number of government employees who do the checks. The proof is in the security results. Since the post-9/11 overhauls, 19 people have been murdered in attacks on U.S. soil committed by foreign-born terrorists who entered on non-immigrant visas. Now, every murder, of course, is a tragedy, but perspective also matters when deciding how to save the greatest number of lives. For instance, it's likely that more people have been killed in the U.S. by shark attacks since 9/11 than by foreign-born terrorists who entered on non-immigrant visas. 0 people were murdered by foreign-born terrorists on U.S. soil during the Biden administration. What
about those random immigrants that are in cartels? They don't actually count as terrorists, though, do they?
No. The first administration with 0 such murders for as far back as we have data. That's evidence of a visa system with the integrity and security that Americans deserve. ICE recently arrested 15 Iranian nationals as of last night. The justification was a supposed terrorist threat from phantom Iranian sleeper cells we've heard so much about over the decades. ICE knew about these Iranian nationals, many of whom were criminals, before the administration decided to bomb Iran. If the threat was serious, why wait until now? ICE was likely too busy harassing non-criminals at Home Depot. The crime rates of immigrants, no matter what data sources you use, all show that immigrants and travelers have a low incarceration or crime rate, far lower than native-born Americans. Even foreign nationals from countries that don't cooperate and share crime data with the U.S. have lower crime rates than native-born Americans.
We got roughly 12 million that flooded the country, 12 to 15 million that flooded the country under Joe Biden. Their crime rate is going to be a lot lower than 330, 40, 50 million motherfuckers. God damn, that is a dumbass comparison.
Americans. There are always going to be bad actors, criminals, terrorists, spies, or others who will try to enter the United States. The visa security system isn't perfect. It's not, and we cannot expect it to be. But it works pretty darn well. We know it works well because the proof is in the pudding. There is no integrity or security that we must restore to the visa process because it was never lost in the first place. However, increasing the security burden and banning immigration from country on flimsy security pretexts is costly. Obviously, visa security and integrity are important. However, visa security theater is not a free lunch, and that bill is paid by the United States in lost economic growth, lost opportunity, lower wages, and less government revenue. Immigrants are about twice as...
Wait, Davey, isn't there that story about an ICE raid happening at a store and then the next day they were filled with people that wanted to actually get employed there?
Oh, yeah. How about this? Hold on. Please hold. I just saw this one. Did I put it on my likes? Here we go.
Go to yours. Go ahead.
As invader food cart vendors are disappearing in Southern California thanks to ICE, American teens are moving back in to take their space.
This summer, me and my twin brothers decided that we're going to open up our own bacon wrap hot dog business called Judiciary. Instead of doing nothing at home, we want to make some money and try to do something big. We invested $400 that we saved from working weekends at our family gas station to start it up. It's a pretty big investment for us, but with some hard work and long nights, it will all be worth it. The first day we were pretty nervous and there was no customers for the first hour. Then things started to pick up. First we sold 1 hot dog, then 2, then 5, 10, and at the end of the day, we ended up selling over 20 hot dogs, which is pretty good in my opinion. If you want to show us some support, we are located in Long Beach at the American Oil gas station 7 days a week from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Be sure to like, follow, and share our journey. We hope to see you soon. Peace.
That's what the fuck I'm talking about.
Those kids are fucking getting it. Those kids are fucking getting it. But yeah, with people moving out, you got more people wanting to do shit.
Yeah, because Americans won't take that job, right?
I didn't know this.
What?
Amanda said, what about the ICE raid just north in Liberty? What restaurant had a line of people with applications along the Texas Roadhouse next door?
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
In Missouri?
Yes. Check that out. Go looking for that story. The likes with the 5. Truly, the fucked up thing is I don't even know It was a thing until 8 months later. When
I read that one. Richard White with the dono. They broke laws coming illegally. His argument is partially false. The crime rate among illegals is automatically 100%. You are absolutely right, Richard. You are fucking absolutely right.
Yes, but they're not terrorists.
Is likely to start a business as native-born Americans. From small corner shops to billion-dollar corporations, immigrants are more likely to be entrepreneurs or founders than native-born Americans. Immigrant workers raise the wages of American workers by filling critical niches in the labor market. Immigrants are overrepresented in economic sectors and occupations, from agriculture and construction to childcare, engineering, and the sciences. Immigrants pay about $1.38 in taxes to the federal government for every dollar in benefits they receive. And the benefits to the United States go on. I want you to imagine what our country would look like today without immigrants from the past. The U.S. population is approximately 340 million. If immigration was shut down in the year 1800, there would only be about 100 million Americans here. Nobody in their right mind would think that those mere 100 million Americans in this alternative scenario would be richer or freer than the 340 million people living here today. So why do you imagine that our descendants would be richer if we closed the border today? The visa system has integrity. The visa system is secure. Don't be afraid of small threats, exaggerated hazards, or frightening rhetoric. Don't pile on more regulations.
Deluxe with the 10 illegals commit crimes at a much lower rate than native-born citizens. You fucking moron. That percent should be 0 because they shouldn't even fucking be here. Yes. No, this is not normal speed. This is 1.25.
Immigration restrictions that will reduce our security, and our country bans that fix a non-existent problem. Don't impose that burden on Americans today or our descendants tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nowrasteh. Mr. Brown, you may begin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Cody Brown. I'm the managing attorney at Codias Law, the nation's premier immigration law firm exclusively for U.S. citizens who've been victimized by immigration fraud, which I note is a felony under federal law. For years, the border captured the nation's attention while masking a far more insidious scandal, the collapse of the lawful immigration system itself, where the law goes unenforced and anti-fraud safeguards are deliberately dismantled. Why spend billions on border security if foreign threats can march through the front door? Immigration fraud is not a victimless crime. I know this because I walk with our clients through some of the darkest chapters of their lives. Half women, half men, they come from all walks of life. They span every demographic and political persuasion, from Trump supporters to super volunteers for Bernie Sanders. Our clients are falsely imprisoned. They're defamed. They are extorted. They are betrayed. They are sued for their life savings under the I-864. Some lose custody of their children. So for some female clients, their final childbearing years are stolen.
That's
all
the point,
so a foreign
Richard
national
White.
can get an immigration benefit. What many of my clients do not know until today is that I, too, have walked in their shoes. On September 19, 2016, during a highly contentious presidential election cycle, I launched one of the earliest social platforms to combat big tech censorship. The launch was based in Austin, Texas, covered by Fox News, National Review, and Breitbart. Days later, an illegal alien, whom I did not know, I'd never met, accused me of stalking her. While walking to the grocery store with my wife, I was arrested by a fugitive task force at gunpoint, thrown into jail, subjected to a $75,000 bond without knowing who had accused me and even what the charge was. I learned the basic facts from the Austin American-Statesman, based on an arrest affidavit leaked while I was still in jail. I didn't even learn the accuser's identity until I was served with a protective order.
God damn.
Her statements were riddled with contradictions. There was no corroborating evidence whatsoever. The alleged incidents occurred in areas with numerous surveillance cameras, yet I appeared in none. She claimed we had conversations, but I don't speak Spanish, and she needed an interpreter in court. When asked to identify me in court, she could not. 7 months after my arrest, the police finally disclosed my forensic phone data, which proved I was not anywhere she claimed.
God damn.
That is when we learned about the U visa. The same month that I was arrested, the U.S. House and Senate Judiciary Committees opened a probe into the U visa program. They concluded it's being exploited by those wishing to defraud the system and avoid deportation. Yet in my case, the judge prohibited my attorney from even asking about the accuser's immigration status. At no time during my prosecution was the U visa ever disclosed. When we raised the issue, the prosecutor abruptly dismissed the charge. A private investigator obtained a confession from the illegal alien that she was seeking a U visa. And when confronted with this evidence, the prosecutor in Travis County expunged the case. What I soon
So in other words, she made up a fake crime to get a U visa to stay in this country. And he was a target. Out of nowhere, they arrested his ass, threw him in jail, and then withheld evidence. Ain't that fucked?
realized was there was another trial, one that I was never told about. It took place inside the walls of USCIS. Congress has created several victim visa programs that empower federal bureaucrats to act as judge and jury over whether a U.S. citizen committed a crime. These are secret trials. The U.S. citizen is never notified. There is no hearing. There is no cross-examination. There's no opportunity to provide counter evidence, defend.
Tony,
Tony,
thank you for the
hey.
5. Well,
With
go
the
ahead.
5 members. Welcome, Biz, Jettison, RP Games, Elf, and Michael Stetson. Welcome. Welcome to the party, pal.
Yourself. And by a mere preponderance of the evidence, a bureaucrat can convict a U.S. citizen of a crime, so a foreign national can get an immigration benefit. There are now 400,000 of these U visas pending over at USCIS. And these secret trials are not limited to just U visas. They occur every day in marriage-based cases, VAWA self-petitions, I-751 waivers, both of which allow a foreign spouse to accuse their citizen spouse of a crime to fast-track their green card. In fact, by volume, marriage-based fraud dominates the system, including one-sided marriage fraud, VAWA self-petition fraud, and I-751 fraud.
What up, Marlene?
Nearly a quarter of all new immigrants are spouses of U.S. citizens, approximately 300,000 per year. I'm almost done. The incentives for immigration marriage fraud are irresistible. Exemption from visa caps, adjustment of status, expedited citizenship, and accelerated chain migration. And throughout the 20th century, Congress repeatedly amended the immigration laws. If there's one thing I want Congress to hear, we want an appeals process with the Board of Immigration Appeals to enable fraud victims to appeal these false allegations in front of the board. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown. We appreciate that. Now we're going to move on to 5 minutes of questioning, and I'll begin by recognizing myself. You know, for decades, the United States has had an existential problem with illegal immigration. This isn't something that's new. It wasn't something that was created under the Biden administration. We've had it for a long time. And Republicans in Congress and in the rest of the country outside of Washington, D.C. demanded border security, that Washington would actually do what we said we would.
Go ahead.
Deluxe with the no-no. I know my pit would not listen to me to stop if that moron
Narasta
showed up soliciting at my door. I'm the fucking alpha, but Tater is good at reading my body language. Hence, I'm sure I'd have problems.
Would do on the campaign trail and secure the border and stop the flow of illegal immigration. And what would happen in Washington is that Republicans would ask for
Go
border
back to the
security, we would
marriage
ask for a
fraud.
wall,
Getting out of this is a
we
pain
would
in the
ask
ass.
for,
Remember that, baby?
things that we can fund that would
Your wife.
stem this tide of illegal immigration. And in
Rumble.
response from the other side of the aisle, we would hear demands for amnesty, a pathway to citizenship for people who have no business being here to begin with, who came here illegally. And the result was that nothing was done to secure the border. One of the things that I'm most excited about the big, beautiful bill that we are working on and are going to get passed next week, is that finally we can fund border security and mass deportations that the American people demand without having to negotiate on amnesty. In other words, the American people get what they would like. Republicans get all of our priorities. We get a border wall, we get river barriers, we get 10,000 new ICE agents.
Alligator Alcatraz.
Deal with demands for mass amnesty. That is a huge win, not only for conservatives, but for all Americans. And I'm excited about getting that done. I believe that mass migration is the single biggest existential threat to our country today. And we're going to begin by fixing that. So thank you to the witnesses for being here. Mrs. Vaughn, I'd like to start with you. I really appreciate your time here. Some claim that in order to finally secure the border for good, we need to make a deal on amnesty or to expand our already extraordinarily generous legal immigration system or work visa programs. Does this viewpoint put the interests of the American people first?
Absolutely not. The biggest problem, well, first of all, we've tried this in the past and it never worked. It was always amnesty now, enforcement if we get around to it. And so this doesn't work. But what we do know also from experience is that every time amnesty is raised,
it's still at 1.25.
Destroys all incentive people have to voluntarily comply with immigration laws.
You feel like it's not enough now?
If they don't have a path to legal status, it creates incentives for people to stay here illegally, and incentives.
My ADD 1.5 is great because I can get it all.
We should not be discussing, contemplating an amnesty of any kind until there is integrity and enforcement of the immigration laws that we have. That's just.
Jennifer's got a good point. I just had a thought. I wonder if the Jewers are going to push back against Mamdani.
No, they were in the fucking Iranian protests swinging Iranian flags.
He's got a point, though. Davey's got a point, too.
They support Muslims. The sewer Jews support Muslims. They don't like the Israelis from Israel.
The sewer Jews. It's going to be, you're being derogatory and anti-Semitic. No, they hate the Jews.
They literally popped out of the fucking sewer.
Right, they popped out of the sewers, and they hate the Jews, too. So, I mean, whatever, right? Is it okay to make fun of them? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
It's okay to make fun of anybody. I don't give a fuck.
And that's true.
Have the American people ever been promised border security in exchange for amnesty in the past?
Oh, repeatedly, most notably in 1986, when the amnesty happened immediately, was given to more people
I wish
than
that would
we
be
were
a
told
question
would be qualifying for it.
Nadler.
And the enforcement promises were never applied. Never
you think about the sewer Jews?
And it's been promised in a number of other types of legislation in 2013,
calling
in
for
2007.
your eradication. Is that anti-Semitism?
Amnesty now, we'll promise to give you enforcement later.
Whenever amnesty is brought up in the national conversation, have you found that it leads to increased illegal immigration?
That is definitely what happened in 2012 before the so-called Gang of Eight bill, and during that discussion. And it has happened in the past as well. In fact, look at what happened before the Biden administration took office. They had promised amnesty during the campaign, and the illegal crossings and encounters at the border went up even before Biden took office in January.
Well, Adam, we do members only.
December, the month before that.
Chats with,
I'd like to ask you about our green card system. Approximately how many immigrants
Saturdays
are for permanent residency each year?
Saturdays, if you're a member on YouTube, or in the Discord, you're more than welcome to
60%.
come on up. If you have anything you want to talk about, you're more than welcome to bring it up.
The ranking member, Ms.
And we got
for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maintaining a healthy,
tomorrow.
robust, secure visa system so people from all over the world can come to America should not be a partisan issue. Immigration
so we're gonna have to use StreamYard tomorrow.
Continues to be one of the essential.
No, Deluxe is on Discord.
Okay.
He was doing it with Discord with us last time when we were doing the Riot Watch.
Okay.
Essential factors to America's success as a nation. Immigrants set up our founding governance system, serve in our armed forces, power our economy in just about every sector, and have brought innovation and entrepreneurial spirit with nearly half of Fortune 500 companies founded by immigrants or their children. We have, as our witness said, strong systems to ensure integrity with the terms of visa holders. There are already consequences for those who violate the terms of their visas. For example, committing marriage fraud to obtain an immigration benefit is already a federal crime. Our visa system has been the pathway for ambition and opportunity for so much of the rest.
Then why did we overlook that?
Deluxe night tomorrow?
Yeah, we set it up last week that you wanted to come on this week. Right? Or was the Riot Watch last week? No, the Riot Watch wasn't last week because that was the shittiest one we ever did because we were not prepared for a damn thing. I forgot about it. But yeah. You want to put it off a little bit more? I mean, I can get Chesterman nuts in.
Rest of the world. And it's so disheartening to see the Trump administration do everything it can to destroy the legal immigration system. Look, I know this system very well. I might have come to one of the embassies that you were at. I came to the United States on a student visa. I made my way through an alphabet soup of visas. It took me 17 years to become a U.S. citizen, and I eventually ended up here as the first naturalized citizen to serve as ranking member of this subcommittee in Congress on immigration. That's a testament to the amazing things that can only happen in the United States.
No, your constituents are fucking idiots. That's why.
Testimony does a great
job. Yes.
Just because you have dumb constituents doesn't mean you're good at what you do.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Today is Thursday. So Saturday. Not tomorrow. I thought today was Friday. My bad. But today is Thursday. So yeah, we'll have Deluxe with us Friday. Or Saturday.
Saturday.
Fuck me. You see, it's I felt bad all day. Sorry. Whatever.
Job of showing the intense level of vetting students and other visa applicants receive when applying to come to this country. Tell the American citizen that's out there watching what the benefit is to them of having foreign students come to the United States and why it actually helps the United States if they decide to seek employment here after finishing their course of study.
So the benefits are extraordinary. Oftentimes, foreign students are the first step in a long process, just like your process, of eventually getting oftentimes OPT, oftentimes an H-1B visa, and then a employment-based green card, and then citizenship. That is the way that the immigration system has been set up in the United States. So if we want to have the benefits of high-skilled immigrants and entrepreneurs, people like Elon Musk, who started here in the United States on these same ways, and millions of other people, then we need to maintain a large,
time out.
open...
Elon Musk went to school here?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think he came like in his mid to late 20s.
I have no fucking... Well, he probably did study here somewhere after he came over here. I have no fucking clue.
Student visa system, because it's the first link in that chain.
Thank you. The Trump administration has targeted student visa holders in all these different ways, and there's been incredible chaos in the student visa system. There's been canceling of visas without warning, sending masked ICE officers to kidnap and disappear students, pausing visa interviews for student and exchange visas right when those applicants would normally be starting to apply for their visas. One student lost his status.
Why are you already here when you're starting to apply for a visa? It makes no goddamn sense.
Must moved to the United States in 92 to attend the University of Pennsylvania. He became a U.S. naturalized citizen. He became a U.S. citizen through naturalization in 2002. Within 10 years, he became a U.S. citizen.
Okay, cool.
So he's a citizen.
Fair. He did it the right way, the correct way.
Yeah.
And he did it pretty damn quick. All right, cool. What up, sober?
Because of an issue with a fishing license. Another lost hers because she was a victim of domestic violence and the police picked up both her and her abuser. About 15% of the foreign physicians who were supposed to come here to work at training hospitals when we have a real dearth of medical professionals were unable to get their visas in time. How does all of that chaos hurt our country and our ability to retain and attract top talent that we need here in America?
The Trump administration's sowing of chaos in the legal immigration system undermines much of what makes this country successful, great, and free. Economic uncertainty is a killer. This is one of the things that I learned in my education, that I saw around the world, that you see in our practice, and nothing like uncertainty in employment, in legal residency, and being able to be here sows devastation. It makes people's lives unsettled, both for the immigrants and their American families, employers, friends, the schools where they are, their neighbors. It unsettles everything. It is devastating to this country. It is devastating to them, and it's devastating to future Americans.
Let me turn to the absurd travel ban, arbitrary travel ban that President Trump announced. He alleges this travel ban is necessary to protect us from terrorist attacks and other national security threats. Is that true? Just yes or no?
No.
So let me go through some examples. Given the recent events in Boulder, Colorado, why is Egypt not on the banned list? Egypt was also one of the countries, along with Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Lebanon, who were involved in 9/11. Your testimony, as you noted, 98% of the people killed in the United States by foreign terrorists were casualties of 9/11. Why are none of those countries on the banned list? I mean, explain this to me. Make some sense of it.
I'm sorry, but I can't explain something where there is absolutely no sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's totally arbitrary. It seems like a justification for reducing legal immigration that is divorced from any legitimate security or national security or anti-crime perspective. It is just an arbitrary ban, and I guarantee we're going to have more of them come down the line that are based on nothing more than the desire to reduce legal immigration.
Thank you.
Nothing about this has anything to do with foreign-born terrorists anymore. We know they're here. We're rooting out everybody to get them all the fuck out of here because you've let so many go in here, and we don't even know who some of them are. But the chances of you dying are 1 in 400 million something, whatever the fuck you were saying last time. 1 in 4 million, blah, blah, fucking blah.
0.00001%.
Oh, yeah, I remember making a little video about that, too.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous consent request to enter. This is a press release from the Department of Homeland Security, and it highlights that some of the Iranian nationals that recently were arrested and entered the country were ordered removed under the Trump administration.
Great.
Yield back.
Without objection. Thank you. And now the gentleman from Arizona, the great Mr. Biggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In May, not one illegal alien was released into the United States. So, Mr. Nawasta, do you consider that to be a successful month?
Yeah.
Good, good. I'm always looking for accommodation and comedy, so we have some comedy right there.
I think we have more than that,
So, I don't know. We'll find out. The most recent Congressional Border Security Caucus, we had the ICE director, acting ICE director, Mr. Todd Lyons, come in. Mr. Lyons was describing visa overstays. So, I'd ask the panel, are you all familiar with the term visa overstays, Mr. Brown? You need to answer it out loud. Yeah, just like a court.
Yes.
You got to answer it out loud.
Very familiar.
Okay, Mr. Nawasta?
Yes.
Mr. Hankinson?
Yes.
And Ms. Vaughn? Yes. So let's talk about one visa overstay. I'm thinking of the Egyptian fellow who went on a rampage, an anti-Semitic rampage, and attacked people in Boulder, Colorado, Did you know that he was a visa overstay, Mrs. Vaughn?
Yes.
And what type of visa did he have before he overstayed?
I don't think I have seen it confirmed. I believe it was a visitor visa, B1, B2.
That's what's been reported anyways, that it was a visitor visa. And how many, Mr. Hankinson, how many visa overstays are there in the country right now, roughly? Microphone.
Maybe 500,000 a year, total overstays, but not all of those are permanent. The figures are a bit difficult to parse.
Okay, so when we...
I don't know why he's sending those as rumble rants, but he has Jonah Finn, or Deluxe has Jonah Finn. Are you talking about the lady in the white floral dress behind Narasta?
When we look at visa overstays, I want to go back here now to Mrs. Vaughn for a sec. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the architect of the 9/11 attack, said that marriage fraud is a, quote, fantastic mechanism for terrorist operatives to acquire valid documents, close quote. But rather than you go, Mr. Brown, do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
And can you've given in your opening statement, you talked about how marriage fraud enterprises work. How would you describe DHS's process for detecting marriage fraud, Mr. Brown? Do they do that? Can they do that?
Their process is virtually non-existent.
Take it easy,
when I
Wes.
refer to the deliberate dismantling of
What up,
anti-fraud
Broda?
safeguards, this is a great example. For example, in the
Hey,
last
Wes.
administration,
Broda, you're absolutely right.
Safeguards that Congress
We're a
enacted
sovereign
in the Immigration
country. If
Marriage
we
Fraud
don't
Amendments Act
want
of
them,
1986 was
they
introduced.
don't get to
They started
walk,
waving all
fly, or
numbers.
marry here.
When our clients reported fraud, you know what they got back? Silence, nothing. And I want to make this point. We have obtained internal data from USCIS. And from 2016 to 2019, a little subset, you know what their fraud denial rate was for the marriage-based cases? 0%, rounded to the nearest whole number. This is not accidental. Something is deeply, deeply wrong with our immigration system. And there's a lot of innocent Americans who are suffering.
Oh, you were asking him about the marriage fraud thing. Okay.
Thank you for that. Mr. Hankinson, what's the process like for vetting student visa applicants?
Well, it's as good as we can make it. The interviews take just a couple of minutes, and most of the information that they provide can't be immediately verified. So we probably get it right most of the time.
So we have the acting ICE director told us the other day that in re-looking at some of these student visas, they had a student from China who was entering his 13th year of a baccalaureate degree program for a bachelor's degree.
Ilhan Omar married her brother.
That seems, I don't know. I've put kids through college, and thank goodness none of them ever took 13 years to get through college. And if Mrs. Vaughn, if a student commits a crime or otherwise does something that would disqualify them for continuing on the student visa, how does that get reported to ICE or the school?
Well, if they are arrested for a state or local crime, ICE will get that information through the Secure Communities program. But
Wanted David to look into it. Yeah, Jonah, I think Jonah's a dude. But she wanted David to look into it, didn't super chat it. Oh, my bad.
ICE is not necessarily going to prioritize it because that, as a student visa holder, they are entitled to more due process than, for example, someone who's in the country illegally and commits the same crime.
So what the director told us is that it's not often that they're notified, and the school is rarely notified as well.
Yeah, the school wouldn't necessarily be notified.
So as my time expires, I would point out to my committee members that there's been some suggestions by Mr. Brown, Mr. Hankins, Mrs. Vaughn on some ways to fix the visa system. I think it's worth reviewing. And then I've got a couple of unanimous consents. This one's called What We Know About the Visa Obtained by Egyptian Man Who Injured a Dozen People in Colorado. Another one by Mr. Hankinson, actually. Commentary on border security. And then a letter that we sent to Secretary Mayorkas just a few months ago asking for information about marriage fraud with regard to visa status.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Without objection. Thank you, Mr. Biggs. And now Mr. Raskin is recognized for 5 minutes.
God
Great,
damn
thank you
it.
very much, Mr. Chairman. The distinguished gentleman from Arizona began by talking about visa overstays, and so Mr. Norris, I wanted to ask you about that. There's been a lot of discussion recently about a famous case of a visa overstay, that of Elon Musk, who had a student visa, was granted entry to the country, and then didn't go to school and said he never really wanted to go to school, but stayed and was able to get to work. And I wonder, in your response to the gentleman from Arizona, you said, or someone said that there's something like 500,000 people in this context. What are we doing about these visa overstays? And going back to your original comment, would we be better off if people like Elon Musk were kicked out of the country at that point, people who overstay a student visa or a work visa?
That would be good, but he got removed.
Oftentimes what we get in America is the most ambitious people, the people who want to work the hardest, create the businesses, win, Pulitzer Prizes and Nobel Prizes and so on.
Lead by
He seemed to
example.
fall into that example. I mean, I guess he's in a category of his own, but somebody who was very ambitious and wanted to come here. But would we be better off making sure that everybody was kicked out of the country?
Deluxe
the day
night. Oh
after
shit!
the
It was
visa
Amanda.
We
Not
absolutely would
Jonathan.
not be better off. We'd be
No, it's
substantially
a
worse off
personal
if that
thing,
was the case,
Knight.
especially in that example.
It's a personal. She was telling me, she was reminding me of something in our personal lives about it.
example of Mr.
Yeah, because I was looking
Musk,
back for Jonah's comment
the
about it.
reason
I was
why
like,
he did what he did, with the
unless
student
something
visas and
disappeared,
the
I don't
tricky
know.
H-1B situation, everything, was because there was no other way for him to come to this country lawfully. And it is absurd that in this country, which has been built by immigrants, all of us are descendants of immigrants
Elf.
here in this
How
country
you
today.
doing?
We have a proud history of being open, that there was no other way for him to come here lawfully, to open businesses, to try his mettle, to create new firms that are multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollars of value that he has created in the world, and other people like him. The government should focus on the security threats. They should focus on criminals. They could go after these folks like ICE went after these Iranians in the last couple days, many of whom had criminal convictions. They should not be wasting their time on people with expired fishing licenses who are student visas. Now, the government does do a good amount now, especially under this administration, trying to track down some of these overstays, but it's not a high priority because they need to go after criminals and national security threats and people like that. Every dollar they spend and every minute they waste going after non-criminals and people who aren't national security threats is a waste.
Okay. I think you're intimating views that are congruent with my own, which are we should make it much, much more difficult for people to get into America illegally and much easier for people to get into the country legally and lawfully. And I think that we have bipartisan convergence around the first issue, that we want to make it difficult to get into the country illegally, but we seem to disagree about the importance or the value of allowing people to get into the country lawfully. I think that our temporary chairman here said, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
How about we stop letting fucking people in this country until we can get everybody a house that wants one?
Well, not only that. How about we stop letting people into this country, live here for decades, and then apply for citizenship? I mean, they could have been taking care of those decades thing a year ago. I also want to point out that the woman behind Raskin in this freeze frame looks like a doll.
Yeah.
It's kind of
creepy.
creepy.
She looks like a fleshlight mannequin.
That's kind of wrong, David, but yeah.
Setting aside climate change, terrorism, social and racial division, is mass migration the biggest threat to our country? If we had massive lawful migration, would that be a bad thing for America?
The overuse of the word existential is a prime example of threat inflation, of trying to terrify people for no good reason. The idea that the existence of the United States is threatened by immigration is absurd. It is just the opposite. The future of the United States is guaranteed and enhanced by immigration to this country. It is what will guarantee the growth. If there was no immigration, for instance, starting right now, the population of this country will start to shrink in the mid-2040s.
You're absolutely right. It's actually already shrinking so goddamn much. But the point of this was, hold on. Let's come back to his opening.
Whose fault is that?
Yeah, that's the government's fault for telling you not to have kids.
Whose fault is that? For telling you to be a fucking independent woman and go out there and sterilize your children and make sure they can't have any kids. Let them change their gender. Right. Yeah. Deluxe with the dono, bro. Adam Chester My Nuts has a good question there about tax dollars spent on his 13 education career. It was Van Wilder. I mean, come on. It was Van Wilder that stood in college for 13 years, and then he went off to fucking try to marry Sandra Bullock for a fucking an American green card in the proposal.
Paid by a lot of it. But yeah.
Would that be a bad thing for America?
I want to bring it back to this. If we stopped immigration, would that be a bad thing for America?
The overuse of the word existential.
The overuse of the word existential. You mean like how Biden said that white supremacy was an existential threat to this country? You know, ultra-nuclear MAGA is an existential threat to this country. Republicans are an existential threat to this country. You mean that how that's been overused that way? Or just with illegal immigration? Because there are a lot of it that are an actual existential threat.
Is a prime example of threat inflation, of trying to terrify people for no good reason. The idea that the existence of the United States is threatened by immigration is absurd. It is just the opposite. The future of the United States is guaranteed and enhanced by immigration to this country. It is what will guarantee
Until you have nobody left.
For instance, starting right now, the
that holds
population of this
any
country will start to shrink in the
values of this
mid-2040s.
country.
There will be fewer Americans. There will be a smaller America unless we expand or at least continue the legal immigration that we have now.
Okay, so why do you think immigration has become such a vexed political problem? I know historically we've gone through periods of anti-immigration fervor and xenophobia, but if we've got the grounds for bipartisan compromises we've seen repeatedly, why do some people keep on wanting to use this as a political club?
So I think it's obviously a vote getter. It obviously infuriates a lot of people. And to be totally fair to these folks who I disagree with, I do think people see chaos and they really don't like it, right? But I think the chaos is caused by our restrictive immigration system overwhelmingly. And if we want to get control in the long term, we need to do what you suggest, which is expand legal immigration opportunities to the United States. Enforcement matters, but legal immigration matters a ton too.
Time's expired. Thank you. We now recognize Mr. Tiffany. Mr. Navarasta, do you believe the information?
Alex, thank you for the one. Preach, Brother Rich, right? Let's see. We got Tony Hay in here with another 5. You got the pothead coming in. Grand finale, son. 5. Awakening Wonder, RM. And Shane Sousa's with him, too. Welcome, everybody.
Nice. Welcome to the party.
Immigration system improved under the Biden administration?
Look at his desk. What the fuck?
Under some ways, yes. In some ways, no. So it's a very large, complex system, as you know. It's second in complexity only to the income tax.
So your colleague David Beer was here about 6 months ago, and he said, yes, the immigration system improved under the Biden administration. What's the change here of Cato's position?
So the Cato Institute doesn't have positions. The scholars of the Cato Institute do. But if you want to narrow in on the legal immigration system, then I agree with my colleague David that the legal immigration system did improve during the Biden administration. But there's large other sections of immigration that have to do with enforcement, other categories.
Going around telling people around the country here today that, hey, I'm going to split hairs, and I'm going to tell people that this one subset of immigration, hey, things are just fine in the United States of America. It's all good. When they understand this as a broader part of the immigration system as a whole, which has been a complete failure.
Well, sir, I don't work in talking points like that. I'm interested in facts, and the legal immigration system is not just fine. I've spent my career talking about how we need to expand legal immigration. So no, I don't go around saying it's just fine. I said that things have improved, and no, I don't go around
sir,
talking.
Don't filibuster. I got questions to ask. I only have 5 minutes. So you're saying you say in your vetting is effective and the visa process is secure. You stand by that, right?
Absolutely.
How did 350,000 children come into America that we have no idea where they're at the end of the Biden administration? How are there 600,000 criminal aliens in this country that committed oftentimes violent crimes, everything from attempted murder to carjacking?
The vast majority of those did not go through the legal immigration system. That is entirely the point that we are trying to make here today, is that they did not go through the legal immigration. If they did, then most of those people would have been weeded out.
This administration, which you said
This administration
did a good job in some ways, the previous administration, they just...
But he was arguing in the last hearing he was in to just, if you want to solve the illegal problem, just open the borders and let them all in unvetted and just give them citizenship. He was saying that in that last fucking hearing.
let people come in without being able to get a visa. So, does your data that you purport to put out there that proves this, does it include the death of Stephen Nashville, a truck driver in Rusk County, Wisconsin, up where I live, who left behind 3 daughters? Does that include him in the data? He's dead as a result of an illegal alien running him off the road?
The evidence that we have is...
Does it include the 2 children in Abbotsford, Wisconsin?
It includes all people who are convicted of crimes in this country, sir, and all people who are arrested and all people who are incarcerated for crimes in the United States during multiple years, including the great state of Texas, which has wonderful data, the best crime data out there, confirms my research. Every death and every murder is a tragedy, and those individual criminals should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. But that is not a reason to punish other people who are not criminals.
Are they in the data?
Of course.
Are the 100,000 children that died of or young people, #1 killer of young people in America, ages what, 21 to 45, fentanyl? Do you include the fentanyl?
You mean the people who voluntarily took fentanyl and overdosed under that tragic situation? No, those are not homicides.
I can bring up a lot of stories about people just doing random traffic stops and the cops get dosed with fentanyl just for touching something. No, that's not willing.
Sir?
Or do you mean the communist Chinese who sent the precursors over here and then the cartels?
We're talking about the drug war now? We're talking about the drug war?
And by the way, they sent it in being carried by people who are coming in with the immigration system.
Why don't you count the automobiles imported that also cause car accidents?
Have you done, in your data, have you reviewed the impact on wages for those who are in the lowest economic strata with these millions of people coming into America taking their jobs? I'll end there. Ms. Vaughn.
Of course.
Ms.
I have vast economic literature on that contradicts your statement.
Share with us. Has there been an impact on Americans' earnings as a result of illegal immigration?
There's no question that illegal immigration causes unfair competition, costing people job opportunities.
How many live in Norwal's neighborhood? None, because he comes from a rich-ass fucking family.
Depressing their wages.
Yes, he did say he don't care if they overdose.
Those millions of Americans who've dropped out of the labor market to have trouble getting back into it. No
so it's clear they're making less money. Yes. And that should be included in any data set when we're considering what we should do with immigration. Is that correct?
That's the inevitable result. That's supply and demand. When you increase the supply of labor, distort the labor markets, you're going to get lower wages.
Supply and demand. You're only talking about supply. These immigrants are coming also raising demand.
No. I'll direct your questions to you, sir. Mr. Hank,
I'm not asking a question.
Was there a cost to the fentanyl deaths here in America?
The open border made it a lot easier to bring in a lot of drugs, and a lot of drugs killed, as you said, about 66,000 people, just fentanyl alone, in 1 year.
How much do you value a life?
You can't put a price on a human life.
I yield back. Chair recognizes Mr. Nadler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Republicans love to claim that while they oppose illegal immigration, they are for legal immigration. Yet the Trump administration is doing everything it can to slow down or entirely stop legal immigration to the United States. Would you agree with that, Mr. Naresta?
Yeah, yes.
Under this administration, we've seen attacks on green card holders for exercising their free speech rights. We've seen a complete shutdown of the refugee program and a relentless assault on student visas. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you. The Department of State...
It's their free speech rights to hold Palestine flags while they burn down shit at a fucking university, right?
Take it over?
Yeah.
is revoking the visas of students in the United States without any transparency, while ICE is terminating the legal status of students, and in some cases not even informing them of their respective institutions. Would you agree with that?
That's absolutely true, and it's a total travesty. It is a poor way to run an immigration system, and it's bad for the United States that this is happening like that.
According to recent reports, more than 1,800 students and recent graduates across 280 colleges and universities have had their visas revoked. Is that true?
As far as I know, in the most recent data I've seen, yes. This is changing, of course, all the time because the administration is so aggressively anti-legal immigration. It's hard to keep up with the new numbers.
Thank you. Mr. Naresta, isn't it true that ever since World War II, the United States has followed a policy of attracting people from other countries to come and study in the United States, and that policy has led to tremendous scientific, military, and computer advancements that have helped make America the strongest, most technologically developed country in the world?
That's absolutely true. In fact, economist Charles Jones, who is one of the preeminent experts in economic growth, has found the increase in technicians and scientists and engineers, largely a lot of it fueled by immigration in the post-World War II period, can explain about half of productivity growth up through the 1990s. A tremendous increase, which results in a tremendous increase in wages, in new inventions, and economic growth that has made all of our lives better.
And you would agree, I assume, that we risk turning the greatest minds in the world away from the United States if we treat international students as like criminals?
That's absolutely one of the biggest risks, and the things that worry me the most is what genius entrepreneurs like...
Jennifer says, if we annex the Canucks, will they help me fight the Mexican flag-waving rioters here in Cali?
Elon Musk, or what great scientists, like the woman whose name escapes me right now, but who helped discover the mRNA vaccine, are we turning away? What is the loss? I'm sorry?
Jennifer Doudna.
She's an incredible, brilliant genius whose work has helped save millions and millions of lives around the world. And if she weren't allowed in here, I just doubt that she would have been able to make those discoveries and contributions in a country like Hungary.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Naresta, the replacement rate to keep the population steady is 2.1 births per woman. The rate in the United States is 1.6 per woman. Now, obviously, this will result eventually in fewer Americans. I think you mentioned that. What is the effect of having fewer and fewer Americans, more and more people of...
it's your fucking fault, you cunt!
Advancing age to be supported by fewer people in prime earning years.
The economic effects are devastating. They are much...
Create a problem, and then you got the solution to fix it. Yes. Yes.
Don't have children. Wait. Have a career. Mutilate your children. Sterilize your children. So what happens when those sterilized children grow up? They can't have kids. You have women in their fucking 40s and 50s regretting not having a family because she had to be a boss bitch, she was told.
Alex with the $5. I gotta find this. Bro, I came across the short of walls at 3 a.m. today, admitting to trying a tampon himself during one of these style hearings. It put a little pep in my step. That's why I put him in boys' bathrooms.
Please hold. Go ahead.
Slower economic growth, slower wage growth. We can see an advanced example of this in East Asia, especially in the country of Japan, which has had lower fertility, below replacement for decades now. It's no doubt that American fertility is below replacement, as you said. It will likely fall further. The only thing that is propelling growth in a good way, and has for a long period of time, is immigration to the United States. And I think supporting less immigration to the United States is the same as supporting a smaller America with fewer Americans, a less dynamic economy, and one where we have less of a footprint in the world. And I think that's tragedy.
And one where more people of working age have to support... I'm sorry.
Got it.
Fewer people of...
You gotta unmute you. All right, go ahead.
It says breaking. Tim Walz tells Congress he first used the tampon by accident and liked it. Do you believe this?
Okay, so let me get this straight. You put tampons on boys' bathrooms because of personal reasons, am I right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and may I ask what reasons are those? I mean, do you have like a trans, lesbian, whatever in your family, sir?
No, sir. I don't have any trans lesbians in my family at the moment.
So what reason do you have for putting tampons on boys' bathrooms all across your state, sir?
Well, to be honest, one day I saw a tampon in our bathroom and I thought, why not? So I tried it on and it kind of felt nice back there, you know. It kind of gave me a little a little extra pep on my step, if you know what I mean.
Is that fucking real?
I don't know. I was trying to look at the lips to see if it was real.
I mean, it didn't seem real, but then Byron Donalds came across the camera there, and I was like, "That why would AI put him in there?" It's a little weird or incredibly elaborate. But let's go
Or
back
it's a
here.
really good fucking AI.
Right?
Working age have to support more people of advanced age, threatening our Social Security system.
That's right. It definitely exacerbates the insolvency issues with
Okay,
Social Security
AI.
and Medicare. It will bring on those problems faster and in a more severe way. One of the best ways to maintain, and even the Social Security Administration acknowledges this when they model out their
What
Social
up,
Security
museum?
predictions, expanding legal immigration does help extend the life of these programs.
And what do we risk losing if the United States becomes perceived as a less welcoming destination for international students?
I think the United States will lose one of the
I
great
still like
selling
the
points and
Harry
attractions
Walls
to this
things.
country, the attraction
You
that,
just take
of
the
opportunity that
S
has
off Harris.
enticed so many of our ancestors to come here over the centuries. Part of what it means to be an American and in this country is the openness to immigration. That has been part of our history forever. We are all the products of
And
that.
you
This
need 'em.
wonderful, vast country is a product of it. There are 100 times more Americans today than when this
Like,
country
good
was
for-
founded.
for
We're
soaking
better
up
off
blood.
because of it, and I want to see a future with more Americans.
Yeah.
Thank you. My time has expired. I yield back.
Thank you, sir. The chair recognizes Mr. Roy.
Thank you, Chairman. I thank the chair for calling this hearing. Mr. Nowrester, I assume that when you say you'd like a future with more Americans, that includes Jocelyn Ungray. Do you know Jocelyn Ungray? Have you talked to her mother, Alexis?
I know her. She was murdered by an illegal immigrant in Houston.
People who were released into this country with a notice to appear in court did not appear and then violently killed a young woman and is now dead. And her mother lost her. And she's one of dozens, hundreds, thousands of examples of Americans who are dead because of policies that were advocated for by the Biden administration
slowing
and
it
people
down.
parading
Hold on.
around as libertarians. Ms. Vaughn.
Parading around as libertarians? What does that mean?
Ms. Vaughn. It means
What does
exactly what it
that
means,
mean?
Mr. Nowrester. It's my time, not yours.
That's a personal
It is my
sir,
time,
and I
not
take
yours.
exception to
I don't
that.
have any time to listen to libertarian
I know you don't have any time to listen.
It's killing Americans because that's what you're doing, and you're hiding behind
Killing
a brand
Americans?
that is resulting in the
That's
death
a
of
heck-
Americans.
that's a heck of a
Ms.
thing to say
Vaughn.
to somebody,
Out
sir.
of
That is
order.
totally
Well,
false,
it's
and I take
true.
exception to
It's
that.
true, and everybody in
I've not
America
killed
knows
anybody,
it.
sir, and that is
Ms.
really
Vaughn.
exceptional.
Ms. Vaughn,
And
when you go
beneath you-
talk to Alexa Nungray, talk about her daughter no longer being with us.
Beneath you as an
Ms.
individual
Vaughn.
to say that to somebody,
Ms.
sir.
Vaughn, on June 25th, 2024, DHS Office of Inspector General released a report entitled CBP has limited information to assess interview waived non-immigrant visa holders. Are you familiar with that report?
Yes.
In that report, is it not true? It says here that the report found the Biden administration expanded a COVID-era policy of waiving visa applicant interviews and fingerprint collecting to reduce
Chip can't stand that motherfucker.
No, he can't. He can't.
visa backlogs and staffing shortages, which worsened at the peak of the pandemic. Is that correct?
Yes.
Biden took this COVID-era policy to admit over 7 million foreign nationals from across the globe into the United States. Does that sound correct?
The numbers in later years are more like 9 million a year.
It's certainly significant numbers of people, millions, without having DHS interview them.
Yes.
DHS failed to fingerprint an unknown number of visas applicants during the 2020 to 2023 period, correct?
Yes, and actually part of that responsibility is on the State Department as well.
Do you find this discovery particularly troubling?
Absolutely. It underscores how much the Biden administration and others before it emphasized swiftness in processing, just moving these applications through, getting to yes, rubber stamping approvals over making the correct decision. And it emphasizes that vetting is not just a matter of
I did
looking
slow
people
it down
up
to
in a database that may
1.25.
or may not have relevant information to the decision. Interviews are a way for them to establish the credibility of the applicant and whether they actually qualify for the visa.
I want to ask you about the visa waiver program as well. It ostensibly does not require an alien to possess a visa to enter the country, correct?
Correct.
And it's a gaping vulnerability in our legal immigration system, right?
Inherently, yes.
So with respect to that, are you familiar with the South American theft groups, particularly Chile, who commit burglary tourism through the visa waiver program?
I've heard a lot about them from law enforcement agencies.
For a time, Chile, a VWP program, refused to provide U.S. authorities the required background information on its nationals seeking entry into the United States despite entering into a security shared agreement in 2013. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
So I sent a letter to DHS Secretary Noem and State Department Secretary Rubio to alert them to Chile's abuse. I'd like to insert that into the record without objection.
Without objection.
And DHS informed my office that Chile is now apparently complying with the agreed upon security agreements. However, because so many Chilean criminals have established theft rings across the nation thanks to the VWP, these theft groups have recruited Chilean nationals with no criminal record to enter the U.S. through the VWP to commit burglary tourism. Are you familiar with that extension?
Yes, yes.
And it's a real problem. And this is the kind of thing that multiplies when we have a lack of seriousness on these issues, correct?
Correct, and it exists with Irish contractors in the Boston area as well. They totally exploit these.
Last question here. With respect to the U visa program, that presents an opportunity for alleged illegal alien crime victims to obtain work authorization and protection from deportation, correct?
Yes.
And on January 6, 2022, the DHS OIG again released a report entitled USCIS U visa program is not managed effectively and is susceptible to fraud, correct?
Yes.
I could go through a whole litany of things, but I don't have the time to do that. But I'd like to just acknowledge that problem, that OIG has recognized another problem, and I'll just finish with this, since I represent the southwest corner of Austin. Don't blame me for the downtown Austin stuff. But Mr. Brown, I'd like you to be able to have a minute to expand just a little bit further on how that abuse of the U visa program affected your life because of what we allow to occur and what that did to you and your family.
My wife's
Glenn, thank you for the 5. We got Bruce Rice, Gloria B, Helena Handbasket, Maynard, Pyramid 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Okay. Still didn't get Marlene yet. I don't know what's going on with Marlene. She said she double checked it. Her gifting is on. Apparently, she just has the horrible luck.
Deluxe night with the dono. This is almost the same clip I saw. It actually went a bit more in depth on Walt's statement.
I'm gonna have to find it then.
Yeah.
still has trouble talking about it. And it felt like we were under siege. And it was confusing. We had no idea what was going on. And if I didn't have the background that I have, a little bit of law, a little bit of Homeland Security, I'm not sure most people would even know what happened. That's my biggest concern, is that people who are victimized like this, they don't know. If they don't know that a U visa program exists, how will they ever know to ask for that discovery? We have some prosecutors who we know refuse to disclose or even certify U visas until after a case is concluded.
Gentleman's time's expired.
There's something called the Brady Doctrine.
Yep, the gentleman's correct. I appreciate the gentleman's testimony and sorry that that occurred to you. Yield back.
Chair recognizes Representative Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought this was supposed to be one hearing where we weren't focused on illegal crossings at the border, but instead we're going to look at reforms to our legal immigration and our visa programs, but apparently some of our folks didn't get the memo. Look, since the first day of this administration, it's been clear that it's chaotic and often
Jonathan
lawless
with the
immigration
dono.
agenda is based on
Welcome,
false
Mother Trucker, 1971.
Oh, okay.
choice, one
My
that
bad.
mistakenly asserts that in order to keep Americans safe, we
I
have
thought
to
you said
slam
Jenner,
our doors to the
or
world,
Jennifer, not
ignore
Jenna.
the laws and values that this nation has been built upon and our very history, reject the people and traditions that have actually made our country great, and turn our backs on a critical source of labor to support and expand our economy and especially our healthcare systems. So this administration has claimed to only be going after the worst of the worst, but day after day, instead of hardened criminals, we see them going after hardworking people with no criminal records who are being ripped from their workplaces, schools, the courts, where they're pursuing their legal immigration
About to
remedies,
send
et
another
cetera.
20 myself.
So we
Want to
see
see
people
David
with
pull it
legal
off.
status having had the rug pulled out from under them, including our Afghan allies. These are folks who had our troops' backs during that
Jonah brought another one in. Robin Lane, welcome.
conflict and came here legally on temporary protected status, and now they're facing deportation. So refugee resettlement has all but been shut down. People who've already completed the complicated and arduous vetting and security
Jennifer with
process
the
have been left
5.
high and dry, often placing
With the 5 memberships, welcome Zena, Xavier, Amy, Gypsy, Dehydrated Nurse,
And Tina Bright.
Tina Bright. Welcome. Welcome to the party. And if you're not over on Rumble, Deluxe just sent 20 gift subscriptions on Rumble.
What up, business?
What up, Biz? So, if you want to get your ass over to Rumble and get yourself a free subscription,
Give me a sec. I'm still trying to find that longer
them
version
and
of
their
that.
families in dangerous conditions overseas. And this administration is now targeting international students, people here to learn from and contribute to our universities, to our economy, to innovation, and to our healthcare systems. And it's penalizing green card holders for expressing opinions that this administration doesn't agree with, despite the plain language of the First Amendment. So ultimately, despite all the rhetoric we're hearing, these actions hurt our economy, hamper our ability to compete with other countries on the global stage, and really damage our reputation worldwide. We're already seeing, I think the figure was a $12 billion decrease in tourism as people are afraid to come here. They don't like what they're seeing. For centuries,
was gifted.
America's been a shining city on a hill, a place where the
Deluxe
world's
Night,
best and
YouTube still
brightest
strong with your
seek
channel.
to come and contribute and be successful in a culture of
wanna
innovation
build
and
it here to
achievement, and that's being tarnished.
build it on Rumble.
It's It's just moving away from that tradition
Get
is
away
the
from
wrong
pedo, too.
direction. So, Mr.
We do
Naraska,
hearings and
my
things like
district is
this.
home to
We'll
a
stay on
bunch
both
of
sides
colleges
the
and
entire
universities,
time, but
many of which have 10, 12, 15% foreign students.
Tony Hay with the 5
if looking-
membos. Welcome, your boy Roy Boy, Daisy Girl Williams, Drea D, Sergey, Janine Shanner.
what up,
Welcome.
Free Dog? We got Glenn with us here.
Their visas without transparency, terminating their legal status, seems like it's a big problem. And I know I hear from these universities that one of the reasons they like
Janine
having
Shaner came in.
international students,
Shaner.
aside from the different
Sorry.
perspectives they bring, the different knowledge they bring, is they bring dollars without student loans.
So we're gotta-
Can you talk a little bit about what is happening with respect to the
It's gotta-
decrease in international students?
Yeah, so they do bring in a lot of dollars, and
Marlene?
American educational services
What up,
are a
Marlene?
large export of the United States. And this
Baltimore
administration
Night
talks
Terror.
frequently about wanting to close the trade deficit, which is frankly an economically meaningless term. But if they were really interested in that, they would actually liberalize student visas because it actually increases exports. It's a very valuable one. But the biggest benefit, of course, is what these people do if they do end up staying here. The firms that they found, the skills that they learn, the extra goods and services that they supply that make all of our lives better off.
The slave labor class. Holy shit.
This committee had a hearing on February 15th, 2022 on the essential role of immigrant physicians to American healthcare. Have you looked at that at all? I mean, we have a lot of folks come here to get their medical degrees. Many would like to stay. We have tens of thousands of doctor vacancies in this country right now, and we've had foreign physicians filling those gaps. Can you speak to that issue at all?
I can speak a
I can speak to that issue. How about you don't riot on campus and stay away from terrorist organizations? Maybe that.
little bit to that. I mean, immigrants are overrepresented in most medical sub-occupations, and they're, contribute mightily to this. The United States has about 4 to 5% of the world's population. It would be extraordinarily accidental if those people who are born here happen to be the best of the best. I think we should really punch above our weight when it comes to that. But there are a lot of talented foreigners out there who could be great American physicians and medical professionals, and I think it's pretty absurd that we make it difficult for so many of them to come in.
Time's expired.
Thank you.
I don't.
They just need to come in here and just live their life as they normally do in their other country. But they should just be here in America. They shouldn't become an American. They shouldn't adjust to our culture. They shouldn't conform to an American way of life. They should just be here.
Deluxe, you're absolutely right. For the dono, I honestly want us all on Rumble because you can vocally let your savage flag fly, no editing on your chats to send it. Yeah, no.
Yeah, that is true. And we do
I would
get very spicy over there when we cut to Rumble. But hearings and things, we just leave them all on both sides, so everybody knows we watch this shit.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Representative Van Drew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to condense this down. Let's be clear. Nobody here on this side, I am not against legal immigration. We are against breaking the law. We want to make this complicated. Not you all, I'm not blaming you, but in general, it's not complicated. We don't want the law to be broken. And the abuse that's going on, or did go on, is causing the American people to lose faith in our immigration system. And see, that's the worst of it. And I'm going to emphasize this over and over again. Unfortunately, folks on the left, folks on the other side, it's even happening today. They'll talk about doctors and teachers and scientists coming over and how we're going to stop that and they're going to not want to come over. They're not the ones we're concerned with. Scientists and doctors are coming over legally. They're going through the system. And they're actually getting hurt because of what has happened over the last number of years with the illegals coming in, because Americans are getting somewhat confused, unfortunately. Let's not blur this. Nobody is against legal immigration of good people coming to America. That's the way America was built. And as many times as the other folks on the other side will say, immigration, I'm going to keep qualifying. We're talking about illegal activity and illegal immigration. And worst of all, we keep doing this over and over again. And under Joe Biden, the problem wasn't just illegal entry at the border, and it's what we're here to talk about today. It was our legal visa processing system. For years, that
Is this
administration
lapel
opened the
pin a tooth?
floodgates.
Yes.
They allowed criminals in. They allowed individuals that were indicted in their own country or indicted here. They allowed individuals that were convicted in their own country or convicted here. We had people on the terror watch list, and I'm not only one saying that. We had the FBI director, the previous FBI director here, under the Biden administration, no friend of mine, don't particularly care for him, but he said America was more dangerous than ever before in its entire history, and that's got nothing to do with Trump. He wasn't president yet. So let's cut it out. It's tell the truth time. It's time to be honest. And programs that were designed to bring in skilled workers, students, and seasonal labor have been twisted into a gateway for the wrong people to come into our country. Bad actors were allowed to skip the line. And all while good people that were mentioned and are mixed in were pushed to the back of the line, the people that we do want to come to America. That Boulder terrorist, anybody look at his social media content?
Yeah.
He was involved in pro-Muslim Brotherhood
Don't forget to hit
propaganda.
that like button,
It was
folks.
supposed to be a red flag. It usually is a red flag,
And
I guess, but it
subscribe.
wasn't red flag. It appears no one actually screened this guy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm going to say it again, because I really want to pound this in, law-abiding, good immigrants who do it properly, they're waiting for years, and I'd actually agree, sometimes too long. They're good people. They love America. Some of them love America more than the people who are born here in America.
Yeah.
Because the system is overwhelmed by fraud and abuse. The more we let bad actors come into the system, the more it becomes harder for the good actors to succeed and make their way to America. And we've got programs that are good. People come here for a while, and they stay.
Tony, hey, thank you for another 5 here. We got Piper Lynn coming in. We got Lisa, MC Burnt. I don't know how to say that, but we got MC coming in. We got Alio Dev and Abby. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome in. Welcome.
Hit the
Welcome to
deluxe
the
one.
party. Deluxe with the Dono Biz. I have been wanting to start a follow my day thing on the farm. Feel like that market been flooded though. Plus my month won't be
Won't let
stay.
me stay on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
No, dude. I mean, things like that. They're actually massive on platforms. I mean, you don't even have to say anything or just entertain. Just put a camera out there that can live stream, get some good internet going, and just go to fucking town on it, man. I mean,
Even
you
doing
got
a
the,
fucking
what is that narrowboat guy that just travels the narrow channel locks in England. You got the Chicken City thing.
A guy who quit his job and just decided that he was going to just sail through the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, you got a
And
lot of
everybody's
things
doing-
like that, dude. I guarantee you people would love that type shit. You wouldn't even have to talk if you don't want to. Just put that camera up and just watch people farm. It'd be interesting for a lot of the ASMR people. Stop hating Trump because he's bigger than a child. Huh? Thank you for the dude, Glenn.
Day. Some of them become citizens. Some go back every year, and they work hard. Those are good people. But we're screwing them. We're giving them the short end of the stick. And that's why it's so hypocritical to mix in the bad folks with the good folks the way we are when we converse and debate about it. A secure legal immigration system is not anti-immigrant. It's pro-American, and it's pro-immigrant.
It's your mission to get her in
And we
here.
need to restore that integrity. So let's stop letting bad people abuse the system. I got some questions for you real fast. It's like when you vote. You got to vote for this one or that one. I simply want a yes or no answer. I don't want a whole
I
long
will
thing,
admit,
Mr.
Marlene
Nebraska.
does have
I want a
horrible
yes or
luck
no.
with those
Are
gifted
Americans
members.
safer when we stop thoroughly vetting visa applicants? Ms. Wan, you start.
No.
No. No.
No.
Good. Should foreign nationals with radical or anti-American social media be denied visas?
Yes.
Yes. Broadly. Depends. I'm a free
Yes or
speech
no?
absolutist. I
Yes
believe
or
in the
no?
First Amendment of the United
You know,
States.
when you
So I
vote,
guess
you don't,
no.
when you vote,
As a
you don't
First
get to
Amendment
put
believer,
when
no.
you vote, don't talk over me. This is my time, not yours.
Hmm.
When you vote, you have to make a decision. Is it fair to legal immigrants who wait years to let visa overstays apply for work permits after they broke the law? Yes or no?
No.
No. Yes.
No.
Should someone who is, last one, should someone who is,
I'm
out of time? Okay. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 quick unanimous consent requests.
Yes, ma'am.
That's just liberalism, leaving your body. Embrace. And there are some things that I won't let go of. I just want to kind of take care of our own in a better way than just everybody do it for themselves sometimes. You know, there are some things that I will give up my taxpayer dollars for that I wish we could do more with that conservatives don't like. After deportations, I want to sue for my money back. Oh, that ain't gonna happen. Who are you gonna get it from? Us, who already gave them the money to them from us? I mean, how's that gonna work?
The first one is an article from NBC News entitled "Hundreds of International Doctors Due to Start Medical Residencies Are in Visa Limbo." And the second one is, because we've had so much conversation on overstays, it's the Homeland Security Fiscal Year 2023 Entry-Exit Overstay Report that specifically says that the overstay rate is 1.02%.
Without objection, admitted. The chair recognizes Representative Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the ranking member for holding this hearing. I'm gonna try to overlap in a positive way.
I'm gonna speed up a little
Mr.
faster.
Van Drew and talk about what we need to enhance legal immigration. I am absolutely convinced that we can fix our immigration system to deal with illegal immigration, the overstay situation. Obviously, we're working on the border, but we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Both the chairman and I represent one of the fastest growing areas in this country in North Carolina. Every day, and we just came back from being in our districts, I hear from the agriculture sector, largest sector, economic sector in North Carolina, the hospitality industry, the construction industry. We've talked about the medical industry, the research industry, that they need more workers and they need to have people who can get their visas. They need better H-1B processing. They need better H-2B visa processing. They want to hire people who are legal. But we have a backlog. We have not increased many of these visa quotas in more than 30 years. People want to come into this area. We are growing.
Hey, I got a question. Can we put America into that first before we start giving her money to everybody else to do it for us? Can we put American people into those positions, train them up, give them what they need to put them into these positions before we do it for immigrants of any kind, whether they be legal or illegal? I mean, can we take care of our people first? Because I feel like if we can take care of all of our people and we're okay, even medically, we're okay, then we could be in a place to actually help the rest of the world. But with $37 trillion now, $37 trillion in debt, how the fuck is that possible?
It's like, when you get when you're going from one cell phone company to another, and they give you all this free shit. They give you a deducted fucking phone line. Like, you only have to pay $10 a month for the first 12 months, and you get a free phone. And then you call up, and you've been a customer for 10 years of the company, and you go, "Hey, can I get that deal?" And they go, "No,
it's only for new customers." Yeah,
but I've been a customer for no, it's only for new customers. But I've been loyal to this place for 20 years. What? No, sorry, new people. That's what it's like.
Tony Hay again. Look, I swear Marlene's got the worst luck. Tony Hay again with the 5. We got Trisha Smith coming in, Keister Bunny, planting full tummies. What? That's a little weird.
Planting full tummies.
YouTube censorship. YouTube censors our free speech, and Colette Dune. Done coming in. We got Deluxe with the one here. At least 3 out of 4 truly want to keep their job with that question. But fuck that, whatever her name is at that point. Yes, that's Ross.
We have amazing institutions of higher education educating lots of people from the United States. I'm very big on increasing the pipeline from the United States. But as we've discussed, in North Carolina, there simply are not enough people for our growing economy. So increasing pathways to legal immigration is either the first or the second highest priority for the North Carolina Farm Bureau, the North Carolina Chamber of Commerce, the North Carolina Home Builders, our education institutions. So, Mr. Nowrasteh.
So you're going to sit there and tell me there's nobody in North Carolina that could or would do those jobs?
Can you tell us how we could fix some of the problems that we're hearing with our visa system and expand opportunities for more of these people to get legal visas? Because these employers in my district and in my state who are generating all the economic prosperity want to do it the right way.
The major problem with the legal immigration system in the U.S. is that it is far too restrictive, it is far too complicated, it is far too burdensome, it is the second most complicated portion of American law after the income tax. Now, I'm just a humble supporter of the free market, but I think that people should be able to go back and forth based on where they are demanded, where their opportunities are, where people want to buy and sell from them and to them. And I think that we need to expand these opportunities for low-skilled workers in areas like agriculture, but also create a visa for construction workers. I think we need to create a visa for manufacturing, for all different types, for every sector of the American economy, for mid-skilled workers, for people who are higher skilled, make it easier for them to come in, some of them temporarily, some of them permanently. I mean, but at a minimum, I think the thing that we can do is create a visa for entrepreneurs, which is...
Baby. This is disgusting, dude. This is that fucking document playing out right here in word form. Hey, we told you to kill all your babies, you know, so because we can't produce an economy where we have enough jobs per people. We told you to kill all your babies. And then we got to a point to where you didn't stop killing your babies because we didn't stop telling you to kill your babies. And now what do? Well, we just need to boost the population by letting everybody in.
Yeah, we should have separate visas for picking fruit, cleaning toilet, construction, what else? Running a bodega.
They're
What else?
arresting dishwashers, people at Home Depot.
A dishwasher, yeah, a visa for dishwashing. Tony, hey, you make Marlene a mod. I can't get her membo, please.
You know, why not? Until she comes in. That'll at least give her some time to see what the membership's about.
country entirely lacks. I mean, that's a no-brainer here. That's the biggest no-brainer around.
And Mr. Narasta, we've only touched on this. I have, ever since I got here, been one of the primary sponsors of a bipartisan bicameral bill to deal with what we call the documented dreamers.
And
The
other
children
jobs,
of
instead of
H-1B visa
underwater
holders who come over
lesbian
here
basket
who, you know,
weaving.
they weren't
Please?
born here. Sometimes
That's
their
what I'm
siblings
asking.
are U.S. citizens, but they are not. And they literally age out of their visas when they're 21 years old. And the backlog is so long that they will never be able to get a visa or become a U.S. citizen. They're the children of highly educated people. Most of them are in college. We've paid for their education. And now we're deporting them to countries that we compete with. What do you say to those documented dreamers who I've been fighting so hard for?
You should be allowed to stay in the United States. You should be allowed to become an American citizen. You should be allowed to use your talents and your skills and your grit to do well here. The one thing we know about children doing well or how well they're going to do in life is it's related to their parents. And H-1Bs who come to the United States do extraordinarily well. They have above the 90th percentile in wages in the United States. So kids are going to do about as well as they do if we let them. If the government lets them succeed.
What up,
all we need to
Trisha?
do is get out of their way. All we need to do is take the government out of this equation to legalize these folks and allow them to do what they want to do, which is to succeed and become Americans.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, Ms. Ross.
Deluxe with the dono. Wow, even his argument, he just admitted they got to do it to some for legal workers, visas and whatnot, which makes them not an illegal border jumper.
Right? Right? Again, like I was asking the question, how in the fuck are these illegal immigrants popping up in New York City and starting their asylum process in New York City? It's not like they just magically appeared there.
The chair now recognizes myself for 5 minutes. Ms. Vaughn, one of my greatest frustrations is the conflating of illegal versus legal. No one up here is against legal. We all want to strengthen it. But it's very hard to be pro-legal immigration and pro-illegal immigration. And this notion that we are the recipients of only the best, the brightest, only those who refuse to commit crimes, only those who give more than they take to this country. That is not necessarily the case in any way, shape, or form as it relates to illegal immigrants. I'm a former federal prosecutor. I saw a lot of the people that were coming across the border, many of whom we had no idea who they were. We had no idea that they were here until they committed some grievous act. Can you paint the other side of this coin, ma'am, and talk about the tolls that this country has received and been victimized by as it relates to illegal immigration?
Wow, let me count the ways. But I want to address one quick thing beforehand, and that is that, you know, we've talked about good people coming here through some of the legal programs, and I think we also need to remember that our student visa programs and our exchange visitor programs and some of the work programs would be far more successful if the people who benefited from those programs went back to their home country and helped enrich and advance their home countries. That's part of the original purpose of these types of programs. So I don't think we should always talk in terms of trying to get people to stay here. But as far as the costs of illegal immigration, they're numerous. It causes labor market distortions that harm Americans. The fiscal costs are huge. The CBO just came out with a report detailing those costs. But the worst cost is the public safety and national security threats that occur when we allow people.
Just off the top of your head, do you know how many Americans died in 1990 from drug overdoses?
I do not.
It was roughly 4,500. Do you know how many have died in the last 20 years from drug overdoses?
I do not.
Almost 1.2 million. And I know there was an effort to delineate the role that illegal immigration plays in the drug culture, in drug crimes, in violent crime, and so forth. But can you separate America's problem in addiction and death from drugs and crime from illegal immigration?
No, there is a direct nexus with transnational crime and an insecure border in this. That's very well established, and you cannot separate the two.
Mr. Hankinson, in regards to your experience and your expertise, did the Biden administration, again, going back to this construct, legal versus illegal immigration, did they do anything to prevent illegal immigration from only accelerating in this country?
No, I think they did the opposite. They wanted to conflate all
red
immigration
shirts
into
never
migrants,
survive.
so that there was no distinction between legal and illegal.
And did that open up the pathway not only for illegal immigration to overwhelm the system, but also the pathways of legal immigration? Were those abused by bad actors?
Well, when you put all the staff, for example, the Border Patrol is not patrolling the border, more people can come in. If USCIS is processing all the cases of parolees and asylees, they don't have time to process the legal cases. So I think legal immigrants suffered more under the Biden administration than they should have.
And this idea that that
Marlene just called it poor girl. Take away her fucking
basic question. Is it easier to
take away her status?
jail someone who was born in the United States?
Take away her
Is it easier
status.
to convict someone that you don't
Called
even
it
know is
poor girl.
Well, it's easier to convict someone when you know who they are, but either way, it takes a lot of time.
That's right. That's right. And so in terms of the drug sales, the drug smuggling and so forth, if we don't know that they're here in the first place, it's harder to investigate and convict. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Brown, in regards to your own personal story, I want to ask you just a few questions outside of your own experience. What other types of victims do you deal with as it relates to immigration fraud?
Vast majority of our clients are traditional one-sided marriage fraud cases. Those are traditionally when someone, a foreign national, convinces and deceives a U.S. citizen into marriage for the purpose of getting a green card. But over the last couple decades, there's been new types of marriage fraud that has emerged. One is called VAWA self-petition fraud. That's when they file a Form I-360. That's when they falsely accuse their spouse of some sort of domestic violence in order to become eligible to basically pursue the green card without any obstruction. Another one is an I-751 waiver fraud.
Just because you come over here and get married, all you have to do is say he hit me, and then you get a visa.
Yep.
Ain't that fucked?
The Congress passed the 1986 Marriage Fraud Amendments Act and created this conditional permanent residency regime. And this I-751
Marlene's
waiver is a
getting a
way
little
for them
spicy.
to get around the joint petition requirement by making a false accusation. The final form of marriage-based fraud is I-864
to take
fraud,
away her
which is a
status because
huge
she called it poor girl.
I-864 is basically a form of immigration alimony these days. And we've had numerous clients where a foreign national marries them, comes to the U.S., doesn't even cohabitate with them, and sues them under the I-864. There's no fraud exception in the federal statute, which should be changed.
Okay. Sir, thank you for your testimony. To the victims who are here in the back, thank you for coming. We see you. And I yield back. Mr. Fry? Mr. Garcia.
Illinois.
Mr. Garcia, I wasn't trying to skip you. I have to leave, so I'm getting Mr. Fry to come and sit in the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I make a few remarks, I want to just observe that the bulk of this hearing has been about illegal or unauthorized immigration, and we're supposed to be talking about legal immigration and visas and the visa system. In addition to that, people went as far as to talk about an existential threat. People talked about, inaccurately, about the last amnesty that was granted, which is incorrect. It was 39 years ago that Congress enacted the Immigration Reform and Control Act, known as IRCA, signed into law by President Reagan, for those who may be mistaken or were too young or not born yet to be able to talk about it as if it were a fact. But once again, we're here so that Republicans can pretend to be concerned about an immigration system that they have consistently undermined. For more than 30 years, 39 to be exact, Republicans, with a few exceptions, temporary ones, have rejected immigration reform and embraced largely a racist narrative that portrays immigrants as criminals and terrorists, all for short-term political gain. And I say that as a proud American who also is an immigrant to this country. And now, under this administration, we have a lawless authoritarian regime that is terrorizing communities, kidnapping people off the street, deporting U.S. citizens, including children with cancer, locking up nearly 60,000 people, and depriving them of even food and basic necessities, and openly violating the law and preventing members of Congress from doing oversight visits. I experienced that last week with 3 other members in Illinois. And as my colleagues have pointed out, the administration is cracking down on legal immigration through overbroad and discriminatory actions targeting international students and imposing travel bans on 19 countries. It is a cynical and cruel campaign that does nothing to improve the lives of working families, and the people of this country see through it. That's why the president's polling on immigration is underwater. Even
What the fuck are you talking about? He's pulling higher than any other president
the Republicans
in modern history anyway, especially on immigration right now.
Don't want to fix our immigration system. It's more important than ever to promote a thoughtful and nuanced approach,
especially
to these
in
issues,
aggregate.
that we can look to history to inform our path forward. Mr. Norris, thank you for being here today. I want to ask you about the Bracero program.
Well, they're allowed
in the 1950s
to, Rhoda.
and 60s. That was a program, as you know. Do you think that it was more effective than the overly punitive system that we have in place today? And what lessons about the visa process can we learn from that program today?
It was far more effective than the process we have today. It was not perfect by any means. There were definitely problems, I think, in any of these programs. The problems, though, back then were largely caused by too many rules and restrictions, and frankly, by the Mexican government side, which sort of inserted a lot of corruption to steal wages from some of these workers. But what we saw was at the beginning of the expansion of the Bracero program in 1952, there were around 2 million or so unauthorized immigrants in the U.S., almost all of them from Mexico. And within a few years of this program, the border flow.
Now they're unauthorized. They're not illegal. They're unauthorized.
The illegal crossings fell by over 95%, and the illegal immigrant population fell by 90% because they got these visas. This program in 1964, and that is when the modern illegal immigration program, or illegal immigration problem began, was because Americans still demanded immigrant laborers, but Congress had made it illegal.
Thank you for that. And I ask you that because it's personal to me. My father came to this country under that program, eventually became a lawful permanent resident, and petitioned for us. That's how we arrived in 1965, another historic year in immigration law. So if Republicans want to restore integrity, and I think you corrected the record, sir, and security to the visa process, or enhance it perhaps, then they should stop criminalizing immigrants at large and destroying those lawful pathways. If America wants to stay the vital country that it has been and remain a beacon for the rest of the world, then we need to restore those pathways which have been shut down. Thank you, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Motherfucker, it wasn't that long ago that you were saying everybody must come in regardless of the pathway. Everybody must come in and do this. And now you're saying we must restore that shit yet again? No, not what you want. I guarantee you we could reform it. We could make it in a streamlined, an easier process for migrants to come on here. I'm all fucking for that. But not what the fuck you want.
Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous consent request. I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record this congressional research report titled U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, Operations and Issues for Congress, and it shows that out of 10 million forms processed by USCIS in 2023, only 1.6% were referred to the Office of Fraud Detection and National Security for any indications of fraud or national security threats.
Without objection. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Hunt. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let's go. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm slowing this man down.
The United States was flooded with tens of millions of illegal immigrants that used dozens of visa programs to finesse their way into our great nation. In response to this invasion, President Trump signed an executive order simply returning immigration law back to the standards of July 19, 2021, which restores and enhances all screening of foreign nationals, especially those who are considered to be a high risk to this country. In order to secure the homeland, which was about 77 million Americans voted for, we must do more than just finish a wall, fund CBP, and support ISIS.
That abuse thing actually happened to two of my white male employees during Trump's first term. We hired the ladies during Obama's term. Social Security numbers said all clear. The ladies are actually use their child's Social Security number. Oh shit! Oh, that's fucked up, Deluxe. Thank you for that.
This is lawful deportation operations. We must also reform visa programs which have been used to usurp federal immigration law. We were told post 9/11 that we were going to fight in Afghanistan and that we had to fight in Iraq. And why? Because if we didn't fight the enemy there, then we're going to have to fight them here in our own country now. And now because of the failures of the Democratic Party's policies, they are now in our homeland. And how do we know? Because 382 citizens who are matches on the terror watch list were encountered at the southern border, and 99 of those were released into the United States from 2001 to 2023. Unacceptable.
God damn.
The Democrat Party under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, Alejandro Mayorkas, and numerous other dark money groups and NGOs made it their mission to flood this country with tens of millions of unvetted immigrants and people who wish to do us harm. Terrorists like Egyptian national Mohammed Sabri Solomon, who used a homemade flamethrower and Molotov cocktails in Boulder, Colorado to attack pro-Israel demonstrators who were advocating for the release of hostages. This man, who was admitted into the U.S. in 2022 on a tourist visa and was then given work authorization in 2023 by, yes, you guessed it, the Biden administration, and had been posting pro-Muslim Brotherhood propaganda on his Facebook page for more than a decade. Disgusting. Ms. Vaughn, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your testimony. If you had a magic wand that could create any policy to prevent tragedies such like we saw in Boulder, Colorado a few weeks ago, what would it be, ma'am?
Well, unfortunately, there's no machine that can read people's minds to know what their intent is when they're coming here. But I think one of the most important improvements that we could make would be to require mandatory interviews for non-immigrant visa applicants and also people who are applying for green cards and immigrant visas.
Okay,
We should have eyes on and, a personal contact with everyone who is.
Can you say that again, please? We should have personal contact with every single visa holder of every single individual that wants to enter this country. Am I right or wrong?
Right, at a minimum for their first application. Some renewals are not high risk once you can examine their travel history, but every new applicant, with very few exceptions, should have a personal interview.
What the American public needs to understand and what we know is that 77 million people voted for exactly what President Trump is executing right now.
Yes.
The faux outrage from the left continues to ignore the damage that has been done to our country and people that are literally maiming our fellow Americans while we have done nothing and we stood by idly. We are now acting and behaving in a way that enforces the law. This is not xenophobia. This is the way and the process that it takes to enter a sovereign nation, and we at the federal government must protect that. I am somebody that has deployed all over the world. No other country operates this way. There is not a single country in the world that would allow 20 million people to enter their country illegally, and then when we do something about it, we then cry xenophobia. It would never happen. When I was stationed in Saudi Arabia, you had to have a diplomatic passport just to enter Saudi Arabian airspace. So the idea that we should at least speak to every single person that wants to enter our country is a novel idea because everybody else does it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. Mr. Chairman, I yield back the remainder of my time.
Gentleman yields. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Crockett.
Thank you so much. It's interesting that we're being accused of wanting all kinds of criminals to
We
be
gotta
on the
hear it.
streets, or that we don't believe that people should show up to their meetings and appointments. Last time I checked, there's a lot of people that are actually being grabbed as they are going in for their appointments. In fact, we know that one of the candidates that was recently running in this mayoral, he ended up being arrested because he decided that he was actually going to escort people that are actually showing up to their meetings. Or
No. He got arrested because he was denied. And they grabbed him when he was denied so he couldn't run the fuck away. And Brad Lanier, whatever the fuck, tried to hold him back. And guess what? That gave him a boost in the mayoral race by about a good 3 points. Deluxe with a 5. Get that dumbass Hunt. You fucking rock. Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. I was like, oh, you just called
He
Hunt?
missed. He didn't put the comma in the proper place.
No.
Get that dumbass Hunt. You fucking rock.
Yeah, I thought he was calling Hunt a dumbass. I was like, God damn.
I had to read it again.
That man's great. But yeah.
we know that the Pope, yes, the Pope himself, decided that the church may need to have people that are going to escort people as they're going into their meetings. Because the reality is that what they are claiming what they want to do versus what they're actually doing, the actions don't match up. And while we are supposed to be talking about visas, somehow we continue to cherry pick and talk about one criminal act.
Whoa, hold on. What was that comment about the Pope?
You want to go back?
Yeah, she just threw that at
visas.
Yeah.
She just threw that in from nowhere and then didn't fucking had no follow up. Just
nobody was talking about the Pope earlier, but well, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. There was somebody that actually had mentioned it, but
That are actually being grabbed as they are going in for their appointments. In fact, we know that one of the candidates that was recently running in this mayoral, he ended up being arrested because he decided that he was actually going to escort people that are actually showing up to their meetings. Or we know that the Pope, yes, the Pope himself, decided that the church may need to have people that are going to escort people as they're going into their meetings. Because the reality is that what they are claiming what they want to do versus what they're actually doing, the actions don't match up. And while we are supposed to be talking about visas, somehow we continue to cherry pick and
So is she saying then when the Pope comes over here, they're going to need security from ICE because ICE is going to take the Pope and his escorts away? What lunacy? What the fuck kind of lunacy is she on?
well, that's the reason why she came in dead last for the race for the
oversight committee.
Yeah. For the ranking member of the entire oversight committee.
talk about one criminal act and another criminal act. And it is so very interesting to me that, yes, we will say people are xenophobic because when you start to decide that just because somebody came from another country, they are automatically some kind of criminal, that does sound kind of xenophobic to me because you are using a paintbrush to paint an entire group of people where the vast majority of them are coming here because they are actually seeking a better life. But let me get to what this hearing is supposed to be about. The idea that Trump and
Sorry, didn't do it legally.
Hold on. Wesley Hunt got up in this now too. Let me pause that for a second. He says, go back. He says Jasmine Crockett called for violence against Ted Cruz, wants someone to take out Elon Musk, and is inciting domestic terrorism. Democrat approval is at a 30-year low, 29%. So why not send her on tour? At this rate, they'll hit zero in no time. Run, Jazz, run. You got this.
Jasmine Crockett.
Oh, that's loud as fuck. My bad.
Has the moves to fix America.
Y'all about to find out.
She is definitely on the side of the American people.
I'm rooting for Canada. I'm rooting for Mexico a lot. Black folk not have to pay taxes. I don't know if that's not necessarily a bad idea. Somebody slap me and wake me the f up.
We all know Jasmine
Good idea.
Crockett is a fighter.
If I come and talk shit about her, y'all gonna have a problem. We are gonna be on your ass.
Her consistency is unmatched.
Now looks like a little bit over a year ago. And boo, let me just be real. And we ain't gonna sit for that.
Jasmine is always bringing the facts.
Let me make sure y'all got the facts. Most extreme crimes that take place are committed by white supremacists.
It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. Stop being Putin's hoe. We're gonna make sure you understand what democracy looks like.
Jasmine Crockett, the leader we probably don't need.
Get it, Jazz?
There's clown show politics, but awesome. Let's go. We
My
almost
Republican
done.
colleagues want to restore integrity and security in the visa process is actually a joke. Let me be clear. Integrity is not snatching lawful visa holders off the streets and throwing them into unmarked vans. Integrity is not revoking visas based on social media posts that hurt somebody's little feelings because kids decide that they want to go after Trump or this administration. We have a thing called free speech in this country. And since we're talking about integrity, I'm confused as to why my Republican colleagues aren't talking about the lack of integrity when it comes to the president's family's visas.
But when you're
Let me
hearing a
remind y'all
fucking
that
visa,
Melania,
you're supposed to
First
be
Lady,
act correct.
and when I say model, I'm
Right.
not talking about Tyra Banks, Cindy Crawford, or Naomi Campbell level, applied for and was given an EB-1 visa. And what that stands for is an Einstein visa. Now, y'all that don't know, let me tell you how you receive an Einstein visa. You're supposed to have some sort of significant achievement, like being awarded a Nobel Peace Prize or a Pulitzer, being an Olympic medalist, or having other sustained extraordinary abilities and success in sciences, arts, education, business, or athletics. Last time I checked, the First Lady had none of those accolades under her belt. It doesn't take an Einstein to see that the math ain't mathin' here. Nevertheless, what Republicans are doing with this reconciliation process, the travel bans and revoking visas jeopardizes our national security. It threatens our communities, our higher education, and our economy. Visas like the largely vetted J visas for higher education and M visas for trade, training, attract the next innovators, medical providers, researchers, and educators that we need to build on American success. I'm not gonna mess up your name, so I'm not doing that. But I'm with you, okay? In your experience, do individuals on J or M visas typically improve or impair our economy?
They generally improve the economy, and I can give a brief example. My wife is a very successful woman. She makes a ton of money, which I'm grateful for. And the reason why we're able to do that while having 3 children is because of the au pair visa, somebody who is here on a J, who is here and able to supply this for us. But I also want to defend Melania real quick.
So you mean the reason why you can do your job and everything is because you got the cleaning
Foreigner.
lady from what's her name? God damn it! The
From
cleaning
Family
lady
Guy?
from Family Guy. Yeah,
Mr. Peter.
yeah, that woman. What's her name again?
Rosa?
Not Rosa.
Is it Rosa?
I forget. But yeah, that's what he's saying. Because I got myself somebody to take care of my kids for me, I can make my money. That sounds like a slave fucking class.
Quick, not everybody
Consuela. That's it, yeah.
could marry Donald Trump, and I think that's quite an achievement. So I think she deserves credit for that. Nobody up here could have done it.
You sure right, I couldn't do it. But anyway, in fact, J visa holders contribute $43.8 billion to the
Hold on one
U.S.
sec.
economy
Hold
and
on.
support more than 3.
Yeah, this is from that one.
So, yeah, no. The First Lady speaks 6 languages. This fucking ghetto rat speaks 1. Okay? None of that. By the way, his nanny is here on a legal visa. Okay? Making the fucking entire point.
Right.
She's here on a legal working visa.
Yeah.
She didn't fucking run across the southern border and just, decide to be somebody's fucking nanny. She has a J visa.
Right.
So she's here legally.
Right.
300,000 jobs. And make no mistake, immigrants improve the health of U.S. citizens too. Despite the fact we already have a doctor shortage, Trump's reckless travel ban and visa overhaul are exacerbating this crisis by impairing hundreds of hospitals with foreign-trained doctors set to do their residencies here in the United States, meaning fewer people
No,
will get the help they need
fuckface.
and more
It was
people
because
will-
if you didn't get a certain fucking vaccine, they didn't want you in the fucking hospitals anymore.
Yeah. And a lot of
Track
people,
it all fucking back.
a lot of people did like elective surgeries and things in hospitals. When that was shut the fuck down, they shut the fucking business down because they couldn't fucking do it anymore. They couldn't afford it because they had no patience to charge.
If you had COVID, which a lot of fucking people did, you weren't allowed to go to the doctor or the hospital.
And
Imagine-
people on here are petty as hell. They are, yes. But that's mostly the Democrat Party as far as that goes. They will always try to deflect and look away, scream about Orange Man, scream about Asperger's Man, scream about how their pussy hurts because they don't get their way. Every fucking time. Every day.
Hey, Rich.
Very rarely is there actually a good hearing. There was one that wasn't so bad. That was about quantum computing and security behind that. That was an actual good one. I watched that today. For what?
Hey, Rich, I got a question.
Huh.
When you got the flu, where did you go to get like a flu shot or some?
I never did.
Well, when you get sick, who are you supposed to go see?
A doctor.
So why was it that when you had COVID, they didn't let you go see a fucking doctor?
Because you could be at risk of overflowing the hospital that sat empty while I ran cables in a hospital. They took an entire floor on the hospitals to make it a COVID fucking ward. And
So-
the beds were barely fucking full.
So you had doctor's offices that couldn't see patients. So the number of patients went down and they had to close up.
Yep.
What happens to those doctors?
They go bye-bye.
Yeah.
They swim in debt and can't restart.
Yeah. What happens when you have a hospital full of people and then you tell them they have to take a certain shot or else they can't work in the hospital anymore?
And they quit, never to come back again.
Yeah. Wonder why there's a fucking shortage?
I don't know.
Die. Now, let me remind you that Republicans are trying to gut Medicaid. Roughly 4.5 million people receive caregiver services through Medicaid, and most of these folks are in red states. And wouldn't you know that in 2023, Kaiser Family Foundation estimated that almost 30% of long-term care providers or home caretakers were immigrants. It's like Republicans want Americans to suffer. Now, Republicans say visas make us less secure, but let's talk about how visas given to victims of crimes like rape, murder, human trafficking, torture, abduction, kidnapping, to help law enforcement with their investigation or prosecutions of these crimes. These folks are risking their own security for broader safety of Americans and our communities. Thank you so much. I will yield.
Before we finish this one off, Joy Reid has something to say about Jasmine Crockett.
Do you feel like Jasmine Crockett should be the leading voice of the party?
Yes, and the thing is, what the Democrats do to me wrong is that they prioritize whose turn it is. Like, Democrats are very orderly. Mm-hmm. They're almost too orderly for fascism. You know, in fascism you can't be orderly because the other side is messy. And
What the fuck are you talking about in fascism? You can't be orderly because their leaders are chosen in an orderly fashion.
Donald Trump stays messy. Everything he does is random, but it also exudes power. And in the case of Jasmine Crockett, a rational party facing actual fascism would say, who are our most effective voices? Who do the
It's not
people
her,
listen
though.
to?
That's
Who do
right.
the people trust? Who do the people want to hear from? If it's Jasmine Crockett, we don't care who's in line.
That's right.
She's about to be the leader. We're going to put her as the head of whatever this committee is, make her the head of oversight, and put her on TV every day. But that isn't what Democrats do because they're orderly. And orderly is insufficient in the face of fascism.
I can't stand these fucking people. They're too goddamn dumb. I mean, she has a point. It has nothing to do with in the face of fascism kind of thing. You always put your best foot fucking forward. If somebody's freshman, sophomore, but they're still knocking it out the fucking park and everybody loves them, maybe you might want to shove them in some kind of leadership role or have them shadow somebody who is good in a leadership role. But Jasmine Crockett? Are you fucking kidding me? I'd rather Jayapal be a ranking member than her.
Gentlelady yields, and our chair now recognizes himself for 5 minutes. I think it's important to realize how we got here, right? I served in Congress for 2.5 years, and one of the first hearings that we ever had, the ranking member of this committee, not this one, said that Republicans were imagining a border crisis, right? Kind of a stark.
The Sentinel? I will challenge that claim. Jasmine is not the dumbest organism alive. That would have to be Hank Johnson. Guam comments still undefeated.
Commentary from the ranking member when all evidence seemed to suggest and show that there was indeed a border crisis where millions of people were pouring in illegally. And one of the concerns of that, not only from the illegal side, as Mr. Knott talked about, but the legal side too. Ms. Vaughn, it seems to me that the evidence suggests that the Biden administration kind of flooded the zone a little bit, and there weren't adequate checks on the people that were going through the visa process normally. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. They implemented through Secretary Mayorkas a get-to-yes culture. We're instructed to minimize vetting and to approve, as a default. I'm discouraged from referring cases to fraud. They were not allowed to issue notices to appear for failed benefit applicants. So they sort of took away the consequence of filing a frivolous application by letting people who were here illegally applied for visas, and the few that were denied, nothing happened to them. And that created a huge impetus to apply for some of these visa programs that people, really wouldn't even claim to qualify for, but they knew by just filing the application, they could get a work permit and protection for deportation. And that just destroys the integrity of the system, and it makes legal applicants have to wait longer for the benefits that they deserve.
Correct, and now we're forced with figuring out whether people are categorized in the right place, right? Whether they were even lawfully allowed to get the visa that they were supposed to receive.
That's right. There have been people whose lawful status has been held back by all these frivolous applications, and people who have either received them already fraudulently or who are on waiting lists and who have work permits who shouldn't have them at all.
When it comes to vetting, obviously the Biden administration rescinded Trump's prior executive order from his first term that kind of strengthened the visa process. But the new executive order under President Trump called for maximum vetting in order to reviews of countries with poor screening and ergo travel suspensions, of course. Mr. Hankinson, can a restriction on a country be lifted? And how would that look? I guess when they would comply and have adequate background checks of their own citizens, that would be a reason why a country that is on that list could now be allowed into the country.
If they would take all of their citizens back when we asked them to, was one factor. The overstay rate in some of these countries for Chad, it was 50%. So out of every 2 people issued a visa, 1 doesn't come back. Maybe it's time to rethink that one. If they got their house in order, if their central agencies were able to issue credible documents and verify criminal records, I would assume that they could be let back in.
Mr. Hankinson, would you agree that our foreign adversaries exploit our immigration system? And if you do agree with that, how so?
Absolutely. Well, we know that the Chinese have spied on American companies, American universities, and the American government. Obviously, it's not all of them. It's just a small percentage, but that's all you need. We know that the Russians have done the same, the Cubans. It's a very easy country to get into, or at least it has been.
Mr. Brown, does the current executive order by President Trump, do you believe that closes security gaps more effectively than the previous administration's approach?
Maybe, but I think what the Trump administration has is some wonderful statutes that you all have already passed and gives them wide latitude to enforce some of these laws. You just brought up the fact, what do we do with all those people who came in under the Biden administration through legal channels and weren't eligible? In my opinion, the Trump administration tomorrow should stand up a permanent revocation division inside USCIS and look at these applications that went through. Number 2, the other thing they can do right now is for a lot of the victims who have been personally harmed by these foreign nationals, there is an existing process in place with the Board of Immigration Appeals that allows them to appeal their I-130 petitions based on fraud. That's something they can implement right now. There's no other statute that needs to be done.
Thank you for that. Ms. Vaughn, regarding President Trump's current executive order, do you believe that if we had this in place during the Biden administration, that ICE would not have had to apprehend 11 Iranian nationals this past Sunday, one of them being a former Army sniper for the IRGC?
Well, I mean, it's hard to know, but I do believe that there would have been, the ones who came over the border are more likely to have been stopped, and the ones who came on visas are less likely to have been able to get those visas. I mean, really, since we don't have a machine that can read people's minds, the best defense against allowing people to enter who mean our country harm is to have routine, across-the-board immigration enforcement that will ensnare the threats as well as the people who are committing fraud or simply don't qualify.
I agree with you, and including a purview of their social media, which
Indeed.
would have shown, at least with the Boulder, Colorado individual, sharing Muslim Brotherhood propaganda. With that, I see my time has expired, and...
Mr. Chairman. UC request.
Recognized. Go ahead.
Thank you. There's a UC request further to the colloquy between Mr. Noresta and the Congresswoman from Texas. This is in Pew Research Center. A majority of Americans say immigrants fill jobs U.S. citizens do not want.
Without objection.
Thank you.
That concludes today's hearing. We thank the witnesses for appearing before the subcommittee today. Without objection, all members will have 5 legislative days to submit additional written questions for the witnesses or additional materials for the record. Without objection, the hearing is adjourned. Thank you.
All right, brother. Let's go ahead. I'm going to put your full screen. Final thoughts with it.
Yes, this country is for everybody. Because you got to do it legally. And when you have people sitting there trying to fucking tell you that no, they're doing it legally, and then you literally watch them go through somebody's fucking backyard, and the cops let them go, and Border Patrol let them go, and you have people testifying that all Border Patrol was doing in the last administration was acting like a fucking blimpies. There's a problem. There's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody tells you that somebody's doing a great job or that that's not what's going on, and you can see it with your own fucking eyes, they're just a liar, and you should never believe them again. When people are telling you that, oh, well, it's because of this and because of that, and that. No. We all have fucking eyes. We all see the news reports of immigrants who are watching your children, who are in nursing homes, doing fucking sick and vile things to your parents and your grandparents. If you want to come here legally. Nobody has a fucking problem with you coming here legally. Seeking asylum is for people who are being politically persecuted. And you know what? Fix up your own fucking country. Sorry. Yeah, the cartels got guns. Here's an idea. You can't own a gun in Chicago. Yet, somehow, murder cap, it's called Chirac. There's places in this country you can't legally own a gun, yet are still people are being fucking murdered.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, there's a way to take over the cartels. If you need to, if you want to. You don't want to. If you want to come here legally, hey, it's gonna take years. Oh well, too bad. Sorry. What we used to do back in the aught zeros, is you had fucking people went to another country and just took it the fuck over. And that's not what we totally did. We came here and we, gave some blankets, gave some money. I mean, we bought Louisiana from the French.
I mean, the last time we gave blankets, they were full of smallpox.
Yeah, I know. but a lot of the land that people are like, well, you guys no, we bought it from other countries. It was part of this country that was owned by other countries. And don't tell me we came over here and the Indians were all having fun and games and laughing and no. They were trying to do the same thing. They were trying to take over everybody else's territory.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to have Glenn back so we can have that conversation with him. because he's a
When's
pull
welcome
start.
anytime he wants to.
He's a pull start, not a push start. So, but yeah, they weren't just all here happy go lucky. No, they were trying to take over each other's territory, and we came in. We had guns. We took over. We gave them some shit. They gave us some land. Here we are. You can fucking succeed if you want to succeed. If you don't want to succeed, it's on fucking you. Here's a way to succeed. When you get pulled over, keep your hands on the fucking wheel. Give the officer your fucking information. If he tells you to get out of the car, get out of the car. Now everybody has a fucking, all cops have a thing on them. You get out of the car, you don't resist arrest, you get in the car, you go to the police station, and you sue the fuck out of them. I mean, it comes out of taxpayer dollars, but still.
Yeah.
If they're wrong, you sue the fuck out of them. No lawyer's not going to take that fucking case. I'll tell you that right now.
Flynn said,
But if
don't
you're
dead
sitting there-
feather him.
I know. He said that to me last time. But if you sit there and you're resisting arrest and whatnot, I mean, it's on you. It's on you.
Right.
Everybody has a cell phone nowadays. Everybody, if you watch the cop videos, there are people just pulling over, just recording cops. Just for the hell of it. So come here legally. It's fine. 90% of the population don't have a problem with it. The people who came here legally and spent thousands of dollars and years to try to become United States citizens, they don't want you here either. They don't want you here because they feel it's unfair.
Yeah.
And if you had a court date and you kept missing your court date or just didn't go to your court date, and then 30 years later, all of a sudden you're being picked up by ICE and you're like, well, I've been here for 30 years. When was your court date? 1987? Did you go? No. Sorry. It's your fault.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Also, after this, I'm joining Third Rail.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, come here legally. Do it the right way. At least keep your promise to become American before you slack off like Americans, because you've been here for fucking decades. You stop going, I got no sympathy for you. You gave up on your only real fucking promise you were supposed to make, which was to become a citizen of this country the legal, correct way. I don't care how long you've been here. Get the fuck out. I'm done with it. Deport them all. Every single fucking one of them. If they ain't up to par with anymore, get them the hell out of here. Maybe some of them can come back if they were good, upstanding people at that point in time. Come back, do it again the right way. Not just restart from where you ended. No, you do it again. You start all the way the fuck over again from the very beginning. It really fucking bothers me, but I appreciate every single one of you. Before we go, Deluxe Night with the 10, you should listen to Arnold about doing it legal on The View. You weave-covered idiot. These people are not smart. You have to give back to the country that embraced you. Late phone cause phone shit. Late because phone died. Okay. So sorry. But yeah. I mean, you are correct about that. Appreciate every single one of you. We're going to go. We got maybe one more to do tomorrow. I don't know. We may even just pull out a regular show because I don't think there's more we can do with this one, unless you just want to hear about the quantum computing one. That one's actually fun. They don't argue, they don't bullshit, but it's kind of a nerdy situation.
There's been some news, especially with this new fucking dildo in New York.
Well, let's get working on that, and we will bring you some more tomorrow. Sending you all over to our Canadian cunt over there wearing a hot dog. Y'all go check out Rail, and we will see you again tomorrow.
Love y'all.
Have a good night.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna fucking do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're dreaming. There's no way that you make it. And maybe you could fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Aren't you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Aren't you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Fucking fight back.
President, we can't start our own little business.
I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief.